Hey Lexi, 20 years ago at WrestleMania 21, your all-time favorite wrestler won his first world title from Dylan's all-time favorite wrestler. So, are you ready to watch the show?
Yeah.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It's Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And yes, today we're going to be late with our responses, apparently. Also, watching the entirety of WrestleMania 21, which originally took place on April 3rd, 2005. Now, this is an almost 4-hour show. This is when WrestleMania started getting bigger, before it morphed into the 6-hour version, and then eventually became the 2-night event. But we're beyond just the normal 2-hour and 45-minute pay-per-view. So we've got a lot of show ahead of us, so we're going to get right into it. If you're watching along with us on Peacock, of course, it's Season 21, Episode 1, because of the weird way that they have the pay-per-views. Now PLEs arranged on here. Of course, if you're watching on your DVD or VHS copy, just make sure whatever you're watching on is, as we say, zeroed out, so when we press play, we'll all go straight into the show. No FBI warnings, commercials, or don't try this at home PSAs. Also, if you're not watching along, that's totally fine. Hopefully we'll be entertaining enough to keep you well entertained. And unless one of y'all have something you need to add, I'm going to get right into it, because like I said, we've got 3 hours and 45 minutes of show ahead of us. Of course, I should remind you to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/LexiCombo. Get yourself access to cool monthly merch, bonus episodes, and all kinds of other good stuff. And of course, you can always just join for free to be able to download the podcast every month, because I know some of the podcast platforms that it's on, you can't actually download it. And I personally like to download my podcast rather than just listen to it in a player, but your results may vary. I feel like I'm talking too much and we should just get into this. So is everybody ready?
I'm good.
So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. And as I say play, we'll all play together on play. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, this is WrestleMania 21, emanating from, I believe, Los Angeles, California, originally airing on April 3rd, 2005. LexiCon podcast, watch along in 3, 2, 1, play. And of course, hopefully we have the subtitles on and sound down. Live from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, home of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Staples.
Lillian Garcia in mid-ring and mid-drift exposed.
I had a joke
Makes sense.
Staples Center, but
Lillian Garcia from Columbia, South
I
Carolina.
saw the Union Jack in the crowd.
It
I
flew
saw
away. I
Triple
should have
H.
stapled it down. That's a terrible joke.
The modified...
Oh, no point.
No, the modified scratch logo, because originally it had the lines on it because it was WWF. At this point, we're WWE. We're also squarely post-Attitude Era. I guess still part of the Ruthless Aggression era, during which the legendary Ohio Valley wrestling class, shepherded by Danny Davis and Jim Cornette, would come along, and in the case of Brock Lesnar, actually be gone by now, as he left after WrestleMania in 2004. But John Cena, Randy Orton, Shelton Benjamin, who am I forgetting? And Dave Batista, of course, were all a part of that legendary class, and all 4 of those are going to be heavily featured on this show. 2 of them, in fact, are going to win their first world titles on this show.
Nice.
The aforementioned favorite wrestler of yours, and John Cena.
Yeah.
John Cena, of course, who's heavily featured on... Well, he's a big part of storylines heading into WrestleMania this year in 2025. Yeah. I don't know how much he's heavily featured. He's on some shows, he's on others.
But he is about to play a big role.
Of course, I got to weigh in, and you shared some of your thoughts on this heel turn on the last episode. Dylan, you weren't on that episode. You want to chime in any thoughts on John Cena's current heel turn?
I don't have any thoughts.
Wow.
I mean, like I said on the last episode, I don't think Cena's heel turn is the same as Hulk Hogan's, because, for whatever you thought of Hogan at the time, he was still featured as one of the, if not the top wrestler in the promotion. And John, while he's legend emeritus, he clearly hasn't been a full-time wrestler or the top guy in the promotion for almost a decade now. And, I mean, at the same time, I don't think this is the same as the Austin heel turn in 2001 either, in that it's not going to tank the business or effectively end an era. Both because Cena isn't Austin and because the business model is just so different nowadays. To me, it's most reminiscent of the aforementioned Brock Lesnar ending the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania 30, I believe it was, and that nobody's really going to be hurt or benefit from it, but, once it's gone, you can't get it back. So even though I'm sure that Cena will be a babyface again before his retirement tour ends, I mean, once you've cashed in 20-plus years of equity of an uninterrupted babyface run, it's never going to be that way again.
Yeah.
But as for the heel turn, I mean, everything has been done really well so far. The initial angle was great, and John and especially Cody have been really good in their performances, but I'm still a little on the fence about it. As of the last Raw before we recorded, actually there's been another Raw, but as the last appearance of John and Cody before we recorded, Cena's now saying that he turned heel because essentially he thinks Cody is a poser and he won't stand for Cody selling the spot that he built. I mean, I guess he really does think he's Steve Austin, because let's face it, Steve Austin is the one that built this empire, but I digress. Besides how great the segment was, when it was over, I was left thinking two things. One, I think John Cena, the character, not John Cena, the real person, is being disingenuous about the reasons for his actions. Like, he's given a couple of different lines of reasoning so far, but I feel like his real motivation is yet to be revealed. Maybe he's insecure about his legacy, or maybe he wants to make Cody be the best that he can be, or maybe The Rock is holding his dad hostage. I mean, whatever the case, I think we're going to find out the real story right before or right after, or maybe even during WrestleMania, but I don't think we're there yet. I still can't believe that they really decided to turn a nearly career-long babyface heel in the middle of a retirement tour, no less, because of the whims of Dwayne Johnson, but I guess that is what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see how it plays. I mean, it did add a little bit of spark to the match at Mania, because I wasn't super excited about a babyface matchup, but I don't know. I want to see.
You don't know that you wanted this instead.
They've done some good stuff, but I'm not sure what they're doing is the right thing. Speaking of some interesting stuff, we're seeing the movie parodies they did leading up to this, because of course, are taking place in Los Angeles, much like they did for WrestleMania 39, the year that Cody was originally going to win the world title, or so we thought. They did some stuff like this, but you see Eddie Guerrero and Booker T doing the Pulp Fiction parody, Stacy Keibler in the Basic Instinct parody. You had Ric Flair and Triple H doing Braveheart. Multiple wrestlers, Bob Holly, Shawn Michaels included, doing, oh God, what were they doing?
I have no idea.
I think they were doing Taxi Driver.
Okay.
And then we have a When Harry Met Sally parody. I didn't see what wrestlers it was. There's John Cena and John Bradshaw Layfield, a.k.a. JBL, doing A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. That was almost Macho Man Savage. There's your boy Batista, who would go on to be an actor.
Yeah.
Of some renown, of course.
Cena does acting as well.
Yes, I know.
And who else?
Rock
went on to do it.
I was commenting on Batista. I still want to go back. See who would it be with Randy? What other voice do I do well or not so well? Okay, Andre the Giant. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, huh? Okay, man, that wasn't so good. But anyway.
How many wrestlers have done acting?
Lots.
Lot.
I don't know. Well, for how many wrestlers there are, maybe not that many. But, Hulk Hogan, Terry Funk, Steve Austin... Kane was in a movie. I mean, Big Show's done acting.
Yeah.
Mick's done a little bit of acting. Of course, Batista and John Cena, and obviously The Rock.
Yeah.
The latter three probably being the most successful at it. What's up?
I said, remember Big Show's show?
Yeah.
That only got, one season?
Yeah, I remember his cameo in Royal Pains, too, which was a great series. And here's Steve Austin doing Gladiator as the main focus here. Although at this point, Steve Austin wasn't even an active wrestler. This was after he had retired.
Interesting.
He was still around as a personality here and there. I don't think this is when he was the GM of Raw or anything like that. But obviously, like I say, when John Cena had that line on Raw, and he was like, "I build empires for billionaires," I'm thinking, no, that was Steve Austin. It was really on Steve Austin's back that Vince became a millionaire and that the company went public.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from the run that John Cena's had. He's been a very successful, and he certainly had more longevity than Steve did.
He's played a big role, but not
which is not entirely Steve's fault either, because Steve, by the time he hit it big, he was much older than John was, and he also had injuries that John didn't have to suffer from.
Yeah.
But still, if you want to talk about the biggest star in the history of wrestling for his time being the biggest star is Steve Austin, at least of modern wrestling. We're not going to try to go back and compare him to somebody like Jim Londos or, Whipper Billy Watson or anybody like that.
Understandable.
SmackDown and Raw.
Film reels.
WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania goes Hollywood.
Pretty neat.
Not the first.
Feels very 2000s, too.
Well, 2005.
Exactly. But I mean, that's right in the middle of the 2000s, so...
Not the first time WrestleMania would be in Los Angeles. WrestleMania 1, or the original WrestleMania, which is also celebrating an anniversary there, its 40th anniversary. And I considered watching it on the podcast, but like I say, I didn't think you would be as interested, the two of you would be as interested, because there's not as many wrestlers that you're familiar with. And the action, while I'm sure it was good, it wasn't necessarily the kind of action you'd be looking for in wrestling, so I thought it might be sort of a dull show. I still think we might do it as a bonus episode over at patreon.com/LexiConvo.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But that took place at Madison Square Garden. Also the site of WrestleMania 10 and WrestleMania 20. But WrestleMania 2 was broadcast from 3 locations. It was New York, Chicago, and LA. Probably the Nassau Coliseum, maybe the UPI Pavilion, or the Rosemont Horizon. And it may have been the Forum in LA or the Olympic Auditorium, I'm not sure. But That would have been the first time WrestleMania was in Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is the 21st WrestleMania, but technically the 20th
It would be the 20th
anniversary.
anniversary. Yeah, of course, WWF/WWE made the big deal about WrestleMania 25 being the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, but as we spoke about last week, WrestleMania 26 was the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. Taz and Michael Cole, the SmackDown announcers at the time, the commentary was going to be split for the American audience between the SmackDown announcers, Cole and Taz, and the Raw announcers, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. Back when in the early days of the brand split, they would often do that, have the announcers call the matches for their own shows.
Makes sense.
And we're kicking off with the tag team champions, but not in a tag team match. This is one of the few WrestleManias that does not have a tag team match on it. Nowhere on the card is there a tag team match, and I guess it plays into the fact that Vince McMahon notoriously was not a fan of tag teams, even though his favorite wrestler when he was a kid was Jerry Graham, who was part of a legendary tag team in his father's promotion. But the first WrestleMania even that we talked about was headlined by a tag team match, one of the few that wasn't headlined by a world title match.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 26 also was headlined by Shawn and Taker in a non-title match. But most WrestleManias at least have a tag team title match, if no other tag team matches. But this one, the tag team champions are actually going to be wrestling each other. Then they weren't strictly feuding with each other, I don't believe. I think it was just the kind of thing, it was kind of a, Eddie wanted to prove himself in the storyline here or something.
Okay.
It's something like that. Like I said, this was sort of the tail end of me being an every week viewer. By this time, I wasn't watching the shows week in, week out. I was still keeping up with it, and we were still getting a lot of the pay-per-views, including this one. But I wasn't watching every week, so I missed out on some of the nuances of the storytelling. But as I recall, that was sort of the deal. They were tag team champions, but maybe Eddie was feeling overshadowed, and this match was sort of his chance to prove himself.
Mm-hmm. This was April 3rd, you said, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was technically still 3 years old as of this show.
All right, and Dylan wasn't even born yet.
Nope. I'd be 4 in just a couple weeks. He's too young to really be paying that much attention to the show.
Ray, famous for his Big Show outfits. What do we think of? Of course, this is just a jumpsuit or whatever he's wearing over his gear.
I'm gonna say, as of right now, it's meh. I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, wow, you're just hating on Mexico, huh?
No, I was going to say the colors and whatnot make sense.
Well, I was going to say the Mexican flag, but on the back it's almost like an American flag.
Yeah, on the front it's the Mexican flag. On the back it's the American flag.
Rey Mysterio, of course, who was Rey Mysterio Jr.
No, that's America's ass.
Because he took his name from not his father, but his uncle, who was a famous wrestler named Rey Mysterio. He didn't take the name, he was given the name, but that's where it came from. By the time he came to WWF/WWE in the early 2000s, they just dropped the junior and he was just Rey Mysterio. Probably because Vince also doesn't like juniors for some reason. A lot of people erroneously refer to Vince as a junior, but he wasn't a junior because he was Vincent Kennedy McMahon. His father was Vincent Jess McMahon. No, Jess was his grandfather. I can't remember what his father's name was.
Either way, they had like a different middle name.
Yeah, it might have been Vincent Jess McMahon.
Alright.
I think it was Vincent J. McMahon, but yeah, he's not technically a junior. The aforementioned Vince McMahon, who I'd prefer not to mention too much because of his various...
Alright. See, now that he's taken off the jumpsuit, it looks a bit better.
Of course, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death. He passed away on November 13th, 2005.
Damn.
2005 was also the year that he and Ray had the infamous Custody of Dominic storyline, where in storyline they said that Eddie was Dominic's real father, and they ended up with like a custody agreement not on a pole, but a ladder match for Dominic, where Dominic wasn't hanging above the ring, but the custody agreement for him was.
Just hangs the kid above the ladder.
But I think I mentioned...
like a shot.
What?
He's hanging there by like a shot.
I figured he'd be in a cage.
No, that's when he started building his muscles. He had to hang up there by his hands the whole time. He was training early for pro wrestling.
He was proving that he'd be worth being part of the company later on.
I told Alex on the last episode that I'm a really big fan of Dominic. I think he's been one of the real bright spots of WWE the last couple years. How do you feel about Dominic?
Yeah.
I think a lot of Dominic's mannerisms too come from the character that Eddie portrayed in the ring, and I think a lot of what Eddie did also came from his late partner Art Barr. But I'm a big fan of Dominic, and like I say, the summer of the year that we're watching this match from, that was a clunky sentence, but I think I got the point across.
Yeah.
Is when they would begin the Custody of Dominic storyline. Look at that. Ray just took Big flip over the top rope.
Makes sense.
The SmackDown where they started the feud was actually on my birthday that year. So we might watch that later. We have some other stuff planned for July, but that might be one of the... I gotta see what else was on that show.
Alright.
Ray with those contacts making his eyes look funky.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about
Spun around
that.
the dwarfs for nothing.
Didn't do much good in that eye for an eye match against Seth Rollins a couple years ago. I was like 5 years ago now. Can you believe
was it?
5 years removed from the start of the pandemic?
That's crazy.
And the first year that WrestleMania went to 2 nights. I'm pretty sure that was because of the pandemic. I don't think that was the plan originally, but it's like the best thing that ever happened to WrestleMania. Over 2 nights. Instead of trying to pack all that in and having like a 6 or 7 hour show.
Yeah.
Doing it for 2 nights has been great.
Yeah.
Especially the aforementioned WrestleMania 39. That's one of the best Manias ever. I mean, the finish of Cody and Roman was disappointing, but up to that point, it was a fantastic show. The year after, the finish with Cody and Roman was much better, but I felt like the undercard on both nights was lacking to a great degree. They had some interesting matches, but the action was just okay. And even heading into it, the feuds and whatnot weren't building as much. I think this year they've got some good stuff building.
But now we have to see how it plays out.
Sort of a mix of the last years. Like, I'm not as excited about the main matches. I am excited for them. Like I think the triple threat with Seth and Roman and CM Punk and the main event between Cody and John are going to be good matches. And I think Jay and Gunther and the women's match, everything has some promise, but maybe not to the level of like Cody Roman, especially that first year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think the undercard looks like it's going to be better this year than it was last year. But then again, a lot of that is an execution too, because a lot of the matches looked good on paper last year, but they just weren't featured to that degree. I think they did a better job at 39 than they did at 40, featuring the undercard.
Makes sense. Where would WrestleMania take place in 2006?
That would be the year after. I want to say Chicago, but you got to understand that was the time we got that WrestleMania. But that was at a time, that was when, I don't want to say my fandom was waning, but I was definitely moving away from wrestling a little bit. Not that I ever really stopped liking it.
Probably didn't help that you had multiple small children.
But it wasn't a week in, week out viewing for me. So I can name the locations of WrestleMania's early in its run, like I was doing earlier. We covered the first 2, and then WrestleMania 3 was at the Silverdome in Detroit. WrestleMania 4 and 5 were at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. WrestleMania 6 was at the Skydome in Toronto. WrestleMania 7 was in Los Angeles. Yeah, they were back in Los Angeles for WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 8 was in Indianapolis. WrestleMania 9 was Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. WrestleMania 10 was back at Madison Square Garden. WrestleMania 11 was in Connecticut, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I don't think it was in Stanford, but I think it was in Connecticut. WrestleMania 12, my favorite WrestleMania was at the Pond in Anaheim, so not in Los Angeles, but right at Los Angeles.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 13 was in Chicago at the Rosemont Horizon. WrestleMania 14 was in Boston at the Fleet Center. WrestleMania 15 was in Philadelphia. WrestleMania 16, which was WrestleMania 2000. I think I'm going to mess up there. I feel like that might have been back in Anaheim. And then WrestleMania 2001 was at Houston, which was probably my second favorite WrestleMania. It was at the Astrodome in Houston. Then WrestleMania 2002 was back at the Skydome in Toronto. WrestleMania 2003 was in Seattle. Probably my third favorite WrestleMania. WrestleMania 2004 was WrestleMania 20. That was back at Madison Square Garden. And then we're in Los Angeles for WrestleMania 21.
Yeah.
The unfortunate WrestleMania 2006 is like the one that I can't remember for sure. I want to say Chicago.
Yeah, it was at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois.
It was Chicago. Yeah, it's probably what was formerly the Rosemont Horizon.
Chicago.
And then let's see, WrestleMania 2007. I have no fucking idea where that one was. And then 2008, I think, was in Florida, maybe Orlando.
Okay.
I may be wrong about that.
But like starting 2006 on for a little while.
Yeah, like I say, my interest was definitely diverted by that point.
Okay, not even half the states have had WrestleMania yet.
Yeah, I think 30 was in New Orleans, the one we mentioned where the streak was broken. And then I think 31 they were in San Francisco or San Jose, somewhere out in California. They were in Dallas sometime in the 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, at that point I'm going to start. And I know they were in Philly last year because it would have been. They should have had Austin come back in that spot where Taker, helped Cody at the end. He was the last one to help Cody before the finish. I mean, can you imagine 15 years to the date of their first match at WrestleMania? That glass breaks and Austin comes out to stomp a mud hole and rock. That they would have blown the metaphor. They would have had to have built a roof for that stadium just for it to be blown off. That pop would have been so big.
Yeah. Okay. According to this other thing, more than half the states have had WrestleMania, so now I'm confused.
Well, we can rule out some, obviously. Alaska hasn't had it, Hawaii hasn't had it, Idaho hasn't had it, Montana, the Dakotas haven't had it, Oregon hasn't had it, Washington has, California has, Texas has, Arizona has, New Mexico hasn't, Utah hasn't, Colorado may have had it, I can't say for sure. I doubt that Missouri has had it.
Okay, hold on.
Kansas.
I think...
Wait a minute, I'm not done
sorry,
yet. Nebraska hasn't had it. Arkansas hasn't had it. Alabama probably hasn't had it. Mississippi probably hasn't had it. Georgia's had it. It's been in Atlanta. Florida's definitely had it. South Carolina and North Carolina have never had it. Virginia's never had it. West Virginia's never had it. Indiana has had it. Ohio... I'm going to say no, but I could be proven wrong on that. Wisconsin has never had it. Minnesota's probably had it, but I'm not sure. Illinois has definitely had it. Connecticut has had it, but most of New England wouldn't have had it. Massachusetts had. It's because it was in Boston. New York, of course, has had it. New Jersey. It might have been in New Jersey. I'm not sure. I don't remember it being in New Jersey, but it's possible. Rhode Island, of course, hasn't had it. Maryland, I don't think has had it.
Okay.
So, I don't know how many states I said had it, but Louisiana's had it, of course, because it's been in the Superdome. I don't think I missed any states.
I was going to say, I think the initial list was more accurate, but you proved that it was not accurate. So now I'm trying to find another list.
What was it?
It listed North Carolina as having hosted one.
A WrestleMania? No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. SummerSlam's been in North Carolina. It was in Raleigh one year. But no, North Carolina has not hosted a WrestleMania. I can absolutely guarantee that.
Apparently a lot of people question why North Carolina has never had WrestleMania.
There have been pay-per-views in Greensboro and Charlotte. Don't hold me to Charlotte. There's definitely been a pay-per-view in Greensboro a time or two. Charlotte's hosted like Raw and SmackDown. And like I say, SummerSlam was in Raleigh one year, 2000 or 2001. But yeah, no WrestleMania in North Carolina. I mean, it's a fairly big state, but this is also Jim Crockett Promotions / WCW country, and the WWE has always had sort of a contentious relationship with this area.
Interesting. A lot of wrestlers come from this area.
A lot of that goes back to, again, the NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah.
That early 80s era, especially. Eddie Guerrero with the Three Amigos, the rolling vertical suplex is getting back to what's happening in the ring. I believe, is Charles Robinson the ref for this little bit? No, not at all. Instead of a blonde dude with a famous head of hair, it's a bald dude with dark hair. I don't even know the name of that ref. I apologize, but it is not Lil H.
I'm pretty sure I don't know the names of, any of the referees.
I don't know many of the current ones. Some of the historical ones I would know better.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I knew the WCW referees better because WCW used to make more of a habit of mentioning the referees' names on camera, and for a long time they didn't mention the names of the referees in the WWF. That's more of a modern... And of course, somebody like Charles Robinson started in WCW. I mean, he may have started elsewhere, but that's where he came to national prominence. And then he would go over to WWF once WWF bought WCW in 2001.
Yeah.
Right before the aforementioned WrestleMania 17. Which I would again rank as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Although it had a shitty finish too, because even though the match between Rock and Austin was great, the Austin heel turn was not a good idea. And honestly, if they were going to do it, they should not have done it in Austin's home state.
Yeah, that sounds like it would have been a bad move.
I always thought they should have had McMahon, make sort of a cryptic remark after Austin won that night at WrestleMania, and then the next night on Raw, they have the rematch between Rock and Austin. McMahon comes out and accidentally it looks like he's going to hit Austin with a chair or something, but he hits The Rock, and it looks like it was an accident. And then the week after that on Raw, once they're out of Texas, that's when they should have actually started the heel turn. It was still a bad idea, but if you're going to do it, I think that would have been better execution.
Yeah. What's the design on the back of Ray's top?
I don't know. I hadn't caught it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I found a list of the WrestleManias and the locations. It's not quite. What
it's sort of like a spine almost.
Okay.
I think it's similar to his tattoo. To be honest with you, he's got a tattoo very similar to that, as I recall. Obviously, I'm not looking at. We talked about, I think last week, where there was the shot on SmackDown where you just saw Ray from the back and you could see his back tattoo, and he was so muscled up we all thought it was Brock Lesnar because he's got a similar tattoo on his back.
Lol.
Ray with the Hurricane Rana and the roll up and gets the victory.
Nice.
So we got, last time on the podcast, we got to see Ray beat CM Punk. This time we get to see him beat Eddie Guerrero.
Nice.
And like I say, they're tag team champions together at this point, but this is going to lead into their feud for most of the rest of the year, really. They may not have been feuding by the time Eddie passed, but it did carry up a good portion of the year.
How old was Eddie?
How old was Eddie?
Yeah.
Let's see, he was born in 1967, died in 2005, so what is that? 38?
Damn.
Yeah. Younger than I am now.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I was just thinking about, who was it that I was just... Andre the Giant passed away when he was 46. And I'm like, man, I'm 46 for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
I'll be turning 46. And I mean, I know Andre had acromegaly and it led to a shortened life and his lifestyle didn't help any either. But still, like, wow, man. It makes you really feel your mortality thinking about... Because you think about it, I knew Andre died young, but you still think, oh, he's probably in his 50s when he died. It's like, no, 46.
Yeah. Have many wrestlers died closer to mine and Dylan's age?
I mean, a fair amount I'm sure have.
Oh, yeah.
Not, wrestlers do tend to die younger than a lot of people. And yes, I'm sure there have been young deaths.
Yeah.
Somebody like Louis Piccoli comes to mind. But I can't necessarily name even a handful of wrestlers off the top of my head who died that young.
His tie is doing the rainbow thing.
Ric Flair's son, his younger son, he died very young. Relatively speaking, of course, like in his 20s. And we got a meeting between the current world champions, both destined to lose their belts tonight, and the U.S. champion there, Orlando Jordan, for good measure. JBL was in the midst of like a year-long title run at this point. And it wasn't a year, because he won it from Eddie, but it would have been in like May or June when he won it, so it wasn't quite a year. But it was close to a year. It was 300-plus days. And at the time, that was like a really... It wasn't a historically long run, but for the era of wrestling we were in at the time, it was a really long run. You didn't see almost year-long title reigns at this point.
Interesting.
Triple H wearing a replica of the famous big gold belt that Jim Crockett Promotion introduced in February of 1986. Most synonymous with the man right beside Triple H, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
It is big and gold.
And JBL wearing the Unified World Championship that first debuted after Brock won the championship. Was it when Brock... I know it debuted after they... Jericho had unified the world or the WCW and the WF championships at the end of 2001. Yeah, it did debut before Brock. So I think they debuted it when Hunter beat Jericho at WrestleMania 2002. It was a decent looking belt. It wasn't one of the greatest. Between me and you, I actually like it better than the belt Hunter has. I know it's famous and I know it's iconic and I like it for that and I like it for the fact that it was the World Championship when I started watching wrestling, but it's never been one of my favorite belts, just design-wise. Adam Sandler and some other douchebag in the crowd. This is the Black Eyed Peas. One of the members of the Black Eyed Peas behind him with the Jordan shirt on.
Interesting.
I can't remember his name. It's not Will.i.am or Fergie. It's the other one. No offense.
Sorry to that one.
Okay, now we need to say really quickly, we decided we're going to watch this match because we're watching the whole show. But some people may not want to watch this match along with us. It's the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. And it features Chris Benoit, who's sort of persona non grata to a lot of people because of the horrific way that he chose to end his life. And I completely understand that. For a long time, I didn't like watching Benoit matches either. I've come to the point that they don't really bother me now. I mean, I'm not really going to seek a Benoit spotlight match or one-on-one match out. But if I'm watching this part of the show I'm watching, it's fine with me. But I completely understand people who aren't into that. So if you don't want to hear us talk about it, or you... don't want to watch it along with us, that's fine. I'm going to make sure there's time cues in the description of this so you can skip past it. But we're going to check it out. And unfortunately, besides the late and unlimited Chris Benoit. It also features this man, Chris Jericho, who I was a big fan of at the time, but who since has been revealed as a donor to Trump's campaign, and having a wife who was a witness to the insurrection, and hosts right-wing talking heads on his podcast and tweets out stupid things like all lives matter as a retaliation to Black Lives Matter, so fuck Chris Jericho. But I didn't know any of that at the time, so I was still a fan of his. And, let's get the parade going of the people we don't really want to talk about, of course. And at one time, I considered Chris Benoit one of my 5 favorite wrestlers. I was a huge Chris Benoit fan. So it definitely sucks the way he chose to go out.
I'm sorry.
Like I say, I don't take the pleasure in his matches now that I once did, but I can pretty much watch him without thinking too much about it. Now, enough time has passed, and I know a lot of people don't have that luxury, and I completely understand that. Like I said, I'm not a fan of his anymore, but I want to watch for other reasons. One of them being this man right here, Christian. Of course, the match is going to feature him, Edge, and the aforementioned Shelton Benjamin from OVW, all of which are main stars in AEW in current wrestling. So I thought that was another, besides being the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah.
I thought it was also fun to watch. And plus the ladder match is going to be chaotic. There's going to be some cool spots. And I thought it was nice. I think it's fun to see a lot of these people featured on the show are still heavily featured in wrestling nowadays. Of course, Triple H retired, but the man is basically running WWE. John Cena, of course, who's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Dave Batista really doesn't have anything to do with wrestling now, but
he's still
on the scene as an actor. Shelton Benjamin, Orangeburg, South Carolina's own Intercontinental Champion at the time.
Nice.
Current AEW World Tag Team Champion along with Bobby Lashley.
Nice. I don't watch a lot of AEW.
Shelton was a college teammate of Brock Lesnar's in Minnesota and, of course, came up in Ohio Valley Wrestling at the same time. They talk about Shelton, besides being an incredible athlete, which you see in the ring, as being like the one guy who could really handle Brock in a fight. Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge, a.k.a. Cope, the dumbest fucking name in wrestling now. Resident of Asheville nowadays.
Interesting.
With his wife, Beth Phoenix, and their children.
Lots of Canadian wrestlers.
Originally from the Toronto area in Canada.
Nice.
I think it was Toronto. He's definitely from Canada. I want to say Toronto.
Canada.
He was at the Sky Dome, not in 2002. Well, he was there in 2002. He was wrestling, but he was there as a fan in 1990 when Hogan and Warrior headlined.
That's pretty cool.
And coming in is another piece of shit.
How many years apart was that?
12.
Nice. So he attended as a fan. 12 years later, he was wrestling.
Another guy I was a fan of as a wrestler, but have since found out is an opportunistic Trump sucker who would rather see school children killed than take away the caches of guns that his constituents have as the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. So fuck Glenn Jacobs too. But as I say, in 2005, I didn't know anything about that. I just enjoyed him as a performer. It can be hard going back and watching these guys. Even it helps for the ones that aren't active now. You can go back and remember how you felt about him back then before you really knew anything else. Mm-hmm. Something like Jericho, who's active now. If I watch an AEW pay-per-view or something, a lot of times I'll skip his match, to be honest with you.
Understandable.
But there should be some good fun here, some crazy ladder spots. Shelton was always good for something like that in this kind of a match. Shelton was sort of the original Kofi, too. Kofi's always got like the big Royal Rumble spot.
Yeah.
Shelton was famous for that in like the early Money in the Bank ladder matches. One real crazy spot.
How long has Kofi been wrestling?
I don't know for sure. He wasn't wrestling, at least in the WWE by this point. I want to say like early 2010s.
That's what I was thinking.
Again, at a time when I wasn't watching the shows week in and week out.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder for me to place some of that.
And did you get back to watching the shows a little more regularly?
Never.
I was going to say, you still don't sit down and always watch Monday Night Raw or something.
Even I find
a lot of the pay-per-views tend to catch.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I, keep up with stuff, reading about it online, and I can go back and watch stuff on whatever version of the network happens to exist at the time. But, for a long time, we ditched cable.
Yeah.
5 or 7 years ago. And Raw is on Netflix now, so we can access it, but at the same time, it's hard to commit 2.5 to 3 hours once a week just for that. And then if I want to watch AEW too, that's another 2 hours. I don't really have a venue to watch SmackDown on because USA is not available on anything streaming, but that would be another 3 hours. I don't necessarily have that kind of time every week. I'll go back and catch certain segments. I went back and watched like John Cena's first promo after the heel turn. I watched the the second confrontation between he. I didn't watch the second one. I think I skipped that. I think I just read about it, and then I watched the third one.
I mainly just catch clips on Facebook.
Oh, now Kane's going to the top.
Everybody to the top.
You watching this still?
Mm-hmm.
And drop. He went bowling. Human bowling. Anyway, which call? I had that list of WrestleManias. I also found a list of young deaths within wrestling.
Share if you want. We've talked about it, but I mean, everybody knows they're there.
Yeah, the youngest on this list is 18, Jeanette Wolfe.
But again, of course,
NWA.
I asked you not to go down too many rabbit holes and actually try to pay attention.
I am watching. I'm sorry. I didn't have much to say about Kane jumping off the top rope. I'm sure it's going to get a lot more hectic. Right now he's using the ladder as a weapon. Totally allowed.
In this match, yes. Being a ladder match.
Yep.
Yes, a ladder match. You can use the ladder.
As a weapon.
I mean,
Who knew?
Technically, if we were to apply real logic to this, you could say you can't use the ladder as a weapon. You get disqualified for that. You can only use it to climb up and get the thing. Maybe you could jump off of it, but actually hit somebody with it. You could make the case that that would not be allowed. But
you could, but that's not the
in just about every ladder match I've ever seen, it has been. Yeah, there's something like even like no disqualification matches. I don't think they should allow outside interference. If somebody else gets involved, that should be a disqualification. You throw the match out because you can do whatever you want within the context of the match if you're one of the competitors. But when other people get involved, that should change it. But of course, it's wrestling, and you want to be able to tell different stories. So
just throws the ladder out of the ring.
Yeah, it's a good thing they did it toward the aisleway instead of like toward one of the sides with the crowd.
That would have been bad.
That could be dangerous for sure.
That would have been a lawsuit waiting to happen. I did find a few wrestlers who were around our ages.
I just got in the mood for pizza, just randomly.
I'm always in the mood for pizza. I don't think I recognize any of their names, though.
And by our ages, you mean you and Dylan, not me, because you and I are nowhere near the same age.
No.
I don't know what scale we're judging on if you and I are close in age, but...
I'm not sure either, honestly. There's definitely a line between
the
that
Methuselah
somewhere.
scale or something.
Same thing. Still go through the list a little bit.
We were talking about referees earlier. I see on the outside Earl Hebner, the man who screwed Brett in the Montreal Screwjob. Although it's not like Earl chose to do it all on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the face of the Screwjob, as far as the one who called for the bell to ring on Brett. That's the referee I can identify. Of course, he was a referee for Jim Crockett in the 80s and debuted in the WWF in 1988 on the, not Saturday night's main event, but the main event. The infamous twin referee thing, because his twin brother, Dave Hebner, was a referee for the WWF, and they brought Earl in, and the gimmick was the $1 Million Man paid for plastic surgery so he could switch out the ref and he could fast count Hogan so Andre could win the belt and then sell it to DiBiase. One of the all-time great angles of 80s wrestling.
Looking at the list, we have 2 Von Erichs on the list.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, one at 23 and one at... What was his? 21. Yeah. And then another at 25.
Yeah. And Kerry would have probably been in his early 30s when he died.
Sied.
So that would have been Mike, Chris, and David.
Yes.
And then, like I say, Kerry died in 93. So he was probably he was probably less than 40 when he died.
I was at the
spin kick by Shelton knocks the ladder on Christian. Sorry about the jarring back and forth. I don't want to be silent, but you didn't seem like you had anything else.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the under 40 list. There's a lot on that list too.
Have nothing to say.
I'm sorry.
I have something to say sometimes.
Look, this is a match I consider.
This is an exciting match.
This is a match I consider not watching because of some of the competitors.
Somebody went into a ladder.
It was Shelton, but I decided, you know what, this is probably going to be the most fun one to watch. So come on, let's see what you have to say about it.
Ow.
There's a cat attacking us. The cat decided they were going to make a match themselves.
Were you saying ow because of the cat or ow because of what was going on in the ring?
The cat.
Oh, I thought you were responding to what was going on in the ring. Like, man, that'd be ow if I could hit with that last.
Yeah, no, the cat dug her claws into me, so I moved my chair away, and then she dug them into Dylan. What are they doing with the ladder there? Oh, they're gonna throw a guy into it, aren't they?
Quite possibly.
They just slam him up against it. That works
Throw a
too.
guy into the ladder. That's cheating.
It's a ladder match.
Okay, I noticed something interesting.
What?
The briefcase hanging above the ring looks like just a standard, like, black leather briefcase.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, eventually they would gimmick it up and have the big MITB and everything on what would be more like a metal Halliburton-style briefcase. But I'm pretty sure, and I can't tell for sure, that could be a metal briefcase. Actually, it might be.
I can't tell.
That's what I was going to get to. I was just rewatching the Most Wanted Treasure series from A&E.
Yeah.
And, okay, I know it's kind of silly and kind of stupid, but there's still some fun stuff on there, and it's good to have on in the background. And the original briefcase, yeah, man, that's a leather briefcase. Look at that.
Yeah, I don't think that's metal.
But I'm pretty sure the one that Edge actually cashes in, spoilers, Edge is going to win this match, and he's going to cash it in on John Cena at New Year's Eve or New Year's Revolution, whatever the pay-per-view was on New Year's Eve in 2006.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was a metal briefcase, and they talked about some dents being put in it, because, they would use it as a weapon. That's
How many fucking hours they bring it in here?
3, not counting the one laying down.
You don't need that many ladders!
No, you need all of them.
You want to see some fun light? We need to watch the TLC matches with Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys.
The Hardys?
From the early 2000s. Those would be some really fun ladder matches.
North Carolina, aren't they?
Yeah, around Cary.
Yeah, something like that. Sazama's still in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a suburb of Raleigh.
Yeah. They had a lot of events in North Carolina.
It'd be so fun.
None that I happen to be at.
If they just kept bringing in more ladders.
All the ladders. Fill the ring with ladders. It's a maze of ladders.
That's the real matter.
That would be awful. No. Imagine just the ring just full of ladders and they're all like trying to climb and get through. One of those falls, everybody's getting injured.
Did you just say Matterlatch?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Anyway, who is this wrestler? I'm not sure how to pronounce their name.
Russ Haas.
And that's the first one seeing of WWF.
Russ's brother Charlie was tag team partners with Shelton Benjamin as part of Team Angle in the World's Greatest Tag Team in like 2003. Mm-hmm. I really liked that run. I really enjoyed Team Angle. They were a good team. And then they would team together again in like Ring of Honor or something many, many years later. Interesting.
Yeah, that's the first wrestler I saw listed as having wrestled for WWF/E. Died at 27.
He's not the first one who died.
Well, no, not the first one to die, but possibly one of the youngest.
I don't think Rick McGraw was that old when he died.
I haven't seen that name on here.
He died as a member of WWE in like 86, 87. Maybe he's older. Seems like he was younger, though.
Yes, this is sorted by the ages when they died, so... The first one listed under WWE specifically is Lance Cade. At 29.
Jericho reaching for the briefcase. Jericho and Lance Cade, actually, Lance Cade was Jericho's, like, heater, his bodyguard for a while.
Interesting.
In his second book, Jericho claims that he came up with the idea for the Money in the Bank ladder match. But he also talks about it as if it occurred for the first time in 2006. So I'm not sure if he's just misremembering the date or if he's just completely fabricating the story.
Understandable. Rick McGraw, he was 30, so he makes the under 30 list instead of the under 30 list.
Yeah.
Alright.
Shelton making the climb now. I don't know if you remember, but Shelton's from Orangeburg originally.
Yeah.
That's what I always heard anyway.
I'm sorry, I don't have his Wikipedia.
I don't necessarily want to spread, but that's what I always heard. So he was actually announced from there at some points in his career as well. So
nice. What did the Carolinas do to not deserve a WrestleMania?
Yeah, I mean North Carolina's got 10 million people in it, but it's what's the biggest arena there? Probably the football stadium.
I'm not sure. Hold up. We'll find it out. I'm holding Google.
Speaking of heaters, there's Tyson Tomko, who was filling in the bodyguard role for Christian at this point in time.
Yeah, according to this, it's the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
With a capacity of 74,867. Is that big enough for WrestleMania?
Yeah, probably. Because, I mean, that's for football, too, and you'd fill in a lot of the field with seats, too, so you could probably easily take that up to 80. But it's not just about the sex. I mean, like, where were they? I mean, was it Philadelphia? That wasn't... I don't think that was a huge crowd by, all-time WrestleMania standards.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like recently they were at some place that only did, like... And, like, I don't think that Vegas this year is going to be anything record-breaking.
They'll probably say it is, though.
They'll say it broke some kind of record. It's like the biggest crowd to watch an event
in Vegas
on this, on April 19th or on Easter Sunday. Can you believe they're doing WrestleMania on Easter Sunday?
I know. I was going to say that. They're wrestling on Easter. Have they done that before?
Oh, I'm sure there's been some show on Easter.
But a big show.
Well, WrestleMania is not usually that late. Now, I know Easter can sometimes even be in March, even though when I grew up, I thought it was always in April.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what determines what day of the year it is, but WrestleMania traditionally has either been mid to late March or very earlier. This is the latest WrestleMania has ever been in the year.
Yeah, we're looking that up really quickly. This is the first time WrestleMania has been on Easter.
Right, but WrestleMania is not the only pay-per-view. They've done other pay-per-views in April as well, and WCW did pay-per-views in April, and ECW and AEW probably done pay-per-views in April.
Also, fun fact, this show was April 3rd. 2006 was almost exactly a year later on April 2nd.
Yeah. I remember, I want to say 2000 and... Not one, that would... I think 2000, WrestleMania was on April 2nd, and then Backlash, which was the pay-per-view that followed WrestleMania at the time, was on April 30th. So we got... unless... I think that's right. Unless I'm thinking about... I know there was a year where there was a WrestleMania was the second, and then Backlash, and then the follow-up pay-per-view. Well, I don't think I'm thinking about 96 when Shawn and Brett had my favorite match at WrestleMania, and then Shawn and Diesel had the classic No Holds Barred match at In Your House. So I think that was actually in May.
Okay.
See, I want to say it was 2001, because Backlash 2001 is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. Benoit's going to do the diving headbutt off the top of the ladder onto Kane.
I was reading, it's possible that a few pay-per-views have landed on Easter, but for the most part, Easter has been avoided.
The interesting thing about that is, traditionally, especially back in the territory days when wrestling was much more of a localized business, Thanksgiving and Christmas were like the two biggest nights of the year for wrestling.
Interesting.
So it's interesting that those holidays were big wrestling days. But yeah, the next biggest semi-religious holiday in the United States.
Avoided. According to this...
If you do on Easter, the bunny might appear. The bunny comes in the show.
No,
well, the thing is,
remember the whole stuff of the bunny from Animal Crossing and whatnot? I was imagining.
We think traditionally, but I mean, everybody celebrates somewhat differently. But Christmas and Thanksgiving, usually even the dinners are like midday for those. So most of your celebrating is done early in the day, so then you go out to wrestling at night. It would make sense. But Easter would be kind of the same way. I mean, you had like your
church in the morning. Dinner. That dinner, lunch, supper, whatever, in the late morning, early afternoon.
I just wonder if being spring maybe had something to do with it.
Yeah, but on those holidays you won't have Santa or Turkey come in and beat up all the wrestlers.
You would.
Easter Bunny come in.
Yeah, you would. You would totally have that. We've definitely seen Santa. And
yeah.
Oh, I mean, I don't know about a turkey, but we had the Gobbledygooker Survivor Series in like 80 or 1990.
Okay, well, they aren't as scary as the Easter Bunny.
No, that's the thing. They can't get the Easter Bunny to be as scary as them. They're like, we can't really.
This might be the finish here.
The Easter Bunny is uncontrollable.
This might be the finish here. Benoit was about to climb the ladder, and Edge took him down with the chair. And I know Edge does win, so gonna unhook it.
Get it.
Oh, wait, the ladder's wobble. Yep, there
Got
we go.
It.
There's your finish.
Nice. There's a Superman sign in the
Edge would be the first one to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, the first one to successfully cash it in, as he would do against John Cena. I believe it was January 1st, 2006, beginning their legendary feud over... I mean, legendary, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, it's pretty iconic.
Yeah.
For the time. It was a major feud. One of the things that really put both of them on the map as main eventers.
Also, according to this, ECW in 97 did have one planned that was going to happen on Easter Sunday, but stuff happened and it got pushed back.
That was their first pay-per-view. Originally, it was going to be in, I think, March of that year.
According to this, March 30th, 1997, but
Was
due
that
to
Easter?
an but due to an incident, it got pushed back to mid-April.
No, I've just been reading the Wrestling Observer collection for 97.
Nice.
So I've literally been reading about that.
Nice.
I didn't realize that was Easter Sunday, because again, I always remember Easter being in April when I was a kid. It wasn't until much later in my life that I started seeing Easter in March. I'm like, why is
Well,
Easter
what's
in
the
March?
time frame of it defining you as a kid? 79 to what year? 79 to relevant. You were born after Easter.
Yeah, I turned 18 in... When I turned 18? 97. 97. I turned 18.
Okay,
What has Benoit doing biting the fucking ring apron? Oh my god, that's so
knows.
weird.
Okay.
Yummy.
I'm scooting away from the cat.
Alright, so the ladder match is officially over now, so this is... You can welcome back to anybody who wanted to skip it. I don't blame you if you did, but we're back.
His crown almost looks see-through.
Jerry
Because it's
King
in
Lawler.
front of his black suit.
Yeah, but it does have black
Yeah.
velvet underneath that.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Easter's from 80 to 97.
Hey, here's another piece of shit Trump supporter. Nick Dinsmore playing the mentally challenged character Eugene, which, no, you two should really take a look at this guy.
Okay.
It might be do we not have the closed captioning on?
Do we not? Have we been watching without it this whole time?
I swear I put it on,
I don't know.
but I don't see any, and I'm sure somebody's talking right now. Hold on.
Probably.
Eugene's going to speak. Let me see. I'll fix that in a second, and then we'll get back to what was his name. But yes, this is Nick Dinsmore, another of the Ohio Valley Wrestling alums. He was playing sort of I don't want to offend anybody, but an idiot savant, sort of a mentally challenged individual, but who could mimic any wrestler as far as their ability. He wasn't necessarily doing parodies of everybody, but he was, this incredible wrestler, but who had other challenges. In real life, he doesn't have those challenges. His only challenge is being a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much you guys can get just from watching it without the sound on. See if I can put subtitles on without messing up. Our subtitle... Oh, do I have to click on that?
Maybe.
No? I can't put the subtitles on. What is going on? I can put audio on.
Go. Can you go over? No?
Oh, no
I guess there's just no subtitles available.
How are there not subtitles available?
They forgot.
What year was this? This was 2005. There should be subtitles.
They forgot.
Yeah, this is Peacock. Why are there not subtitles?
They forgot.
They messed
Oh
something
my god,
up.
just one bad gimmick after another. Here is... Gosh, I cannot remember the man's name in real life. But he's an Italian.
Okay.
But he's portraying like a fanatical Muslim
No.
in the years following 9/11. And this run would end when they would unfortunately have him, threatening to like behead the Undertaker or something right after somebody was actually beheaded in the Middle East. But yeah,
Wrestling surely exists.
his manager, his second is Shawn Daivari, who probably is of Muslim descent. But this is Muhammad Hussan, like I say, who was another of the Ohio Valley wrestlers, by the way.
Oh gosh.
Well, that was the developmental territory at the time. I'm still wondering why we can't get the subtitles to work. This is kind of
Because
bugging
apparently
me.
they don't exist.
They have to exist. What do you mean? It's Peacock.
Nope, somebody did not go through and do the subtitling.
How are there no subtitles?
Because no one clicked the do subtitles button.
You mean we have to watch 4 hours of a show with no subtitles?
Nobody wanted to go through 4 hours to make sure the subtitles have worked.
There are 6-hour WrestleManias that follow this that I'm sure have subtitles. I mean, we've been going this far, so I guess we'll be okay, but man, this is a real bummer.
Wrestling has some really bad gimmicks and storylines and stuff.
Sure. I'm not going to deny it.
Okay, I finally found the list of Easters. It was annoying to find, but I found it. On
Okay, wait.
census.gov.
Hold that thought.
Okay,
though.
yeah.
But again, two gimmicks that did not age. I mean, one of them...
Did not age well.
The Muhammad Hussan one was clearly in poor taste at the time. And no offense to any of our Muslim listeners or Muslims anywhere, but the idea to exploit this sort of Islamophobia by creating a heel character out of someone who's not even of Middle Eastern or Muslim descent at all was, really in poor taste. And again, you have the, Forrest Gumpish sort of mentally challenged character. And look, I'll defend the movie Forrest Gump, but as far as the wrestling character Eugene, I'm not sure it ages as well.
It's not a vibe.
And again, like I said, I'm not a fan of the man who portrayed the role, knowing what I know about him now. But I'm wondering, and again, I don't know how much y'all can glean without any audio and without any subtitles. But
how did we not notice until now?
We've been running our mouths. I mean, okay. Anyway, I was trying to get y'all's perspective more on the Eugene character than the Mohammad Hussan, because I think most of us agree that Mohammad Hussan was in poor taste, considering all of the context of the time. But what do you guys think about the Eugene character?
I'm not vibing with him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the character at the time, and I thought Nick did a good job portraying him. And he was always portrayed as a baby face, you know. I don't think he ever had a heel run.
I was going to say, perhaps it's not the worst thing they could have or ever did. That's for sure.
It's definitely not the best either, though. And I was just wondering what a different generation would see of it. And again, y'all would probably need more exposure to really get the proper taste of it. But.
Yeah, I mean, just this little taste nowadays, I wouldn't say I'm too crazy for it. I don't know.
Man, this no subtitles thing is really bugging me. This is going to kill some of the later segments.
We're
really going to have to just make stuff up as we go.
Alright. That's going to get entertaining. Would y'all like to know the dates of Easter from 80 to 97 now?
I mean, whatever works.
We're going down a rabbit hole over here.
Alright, so 1980 was April 6th. Oh, hey, 1981, it was on April 19th. Nice. 82 was April 11th. 83, April 3rd. 84, April 22nd. So, yes, very commonly in April
you're
for
back
you.
me. Oh, here comes another piece of shit Trump supporter. How many of these do we have to have on this show?
A lot.
I mean, I know there's always been a bit of a connection between the WWF and Donald Trump. I know Vince and Trump were friends, and Trump Plaza hosted WrestleMania for 2 years, and they had the Battle of the Billionaires at WrestleMania 2007 or 9 or whatever it was, and of course, Trump's made the unqualified Linda McMahon the head of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you're an unqualified president, you might as well make other unqualified people part of your cabinet. And of course, we talked about the fact that we see the WWE, even in modern times, platforming pro-Trump acts like The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, even though they seem to have backed off from Hogan after he was mercilessly booed on the first Raw on Netflix. And now Tony Hinchcliffe, the heinous comedian who had those really in poor taste jokes about Puerto Ricans during the Trump campaign that we all thought would help cost Trump the election, but for some reason didn't, and apparently Latino still came out even more enforced to vote for him than they did in 2020 and 2016 for some inexplicable reason. But for another inexplicable reason, the WWE has chosen him to host their big Raw roast, which fortunately I don't think is going to be televised, so there'll be no temptation for me to watch it, but I wouldn't anyway.
Yeah. So at least it wasn't yet another per gimmick coming out.
Well, it is Hulk Hogan. I mean, you know, Hulk Hogan in 1985 maybe was a good gimmick. Maybe Hulk Hogan in the red and yellow and everything wasn't such a great gimmick by 2005.
We've already established that was 3. I wasn't paying that much attention.
This is really bugging me. There's no subtitles.
I'm sorry.
I really want to pause and try to see if I can...
What is this?
Can I get, like, just closed captioning from the TV?
Maybe?
How are there no... Everything, y'all, all the time I walk into a room and Peacock's on and there's freaking subtitles. I'm like, I don't want to read the show, but when I actually need them, they're not there?
Nope.
What is going on all of a sudden?
85 is April 7th. But hey, 86, March 30th.
Okay.
So how old were you in 86?
At Easter, I
In
was
March
6.
of it. You were 6. So that was your first non-April Easter. 87 would be back on April 19th.
But it was the very end of March, too. So for a youngster, I could easily associate that with April.
Yeah, yeah. 88,
And in
April
86,
3rd.
I would have barely been in
Ooh.
school. I don't know how much I would have been paying attention to what month we were in even by that point.
89 was March 26th. That's a bit early.
Yeah.
For you, at least. 90 was April 15th. 91, March 31st. 92 is back on April 19th.
Yeah, you see the majority of the Easters when I was a kid were in April, though, so you could see how I would associate it with being an April holiday.
Yeah, literally until 97. 97 was March 30th.
Not until then. We had at least 2 others.
Well, I was saying it's April until that one comes back.
Yeah.
But let's see. Just through 97, you experienced Easter on April 19th 3 times. It's not quite on the 19th this year. It's the 20th
No, it's
this
the
year.
20th. WrestleMania's on the 19th.
Nice.
My computer's trying to update.
I was born 4 days after
We're not
Easter.
going to restart right now. I have some notes here I might need to refer to.
Easter is April 15th, 2001.
Okay, now, should we try to pause and put up? There's Hogan's daughter, Brooke,
Nice.
for whatever that's worth.
I now feel like I need to know how common, if it was more March or April for me. Because honestly, I've never paid that much attention.
I think it's still been more in April during your
probably.
life. But it
Winter
was during your life that I started noticing it in March.
Guys, in 2018, Easter was on April Fool's Day. Part of me feels like I remember that.
In what year?
2018. Literally just however many years ago.
7.
7 years ago. That 7 years ago was quite a while ago.
Deltarune
2018
year.
doesn't sound that far away.
Deltarune year. Was that
Yeah.
the first year Deltarune came out?
Yeah, I believe
Oh,
so.
no.
We get some more Deltarune this year.
Yeah, June 5th. I'm super fucking excited. I could just yap about that for the other 2 hours if you guys want.
Okay, really quickly. Do we take a pause from the podcast and we try to fix these subtitles, or do we just roll without them?
And I don't think there is a fix. I think there's a not there.
You don't think there's anything I can do to get sub? You don't think my Amazon Fire TV can give me subtitles or anything?
Honestly, not sure.
I feel like it can, but I don't want to pause my show.
I was saying, do we have a better spot to pause?
Gotta give the
Well,
stupidest
that's why
subtitles.
I was waiting for it to cut to black or something. Like one of the places they insert a commercial for Peacock.
Someone's gonna say something else. I'm like, what the fuck are the subtitles talking about a refrigerator?
Wait, can I be getting it here? Possibly, maybe.
Like, you had 4 March Easters in your childhood. I had 5.
Who the hell is Hogan talking to? He's looking up at the ceiling.
Himself.
He's seeing things.
Yup.
He's hallucinating. Oh, of course they have to drop the American flag behind him. I will say it's a bit jingoistic and a bit patriarchal, but his interest music, I Am a Real American, it is some of the best interest music of all time. Like I say, if you can look past those things, the whole, if you hurt my friends, you hurt my pride, I gotta be a man. Okay, he could say I gotta take a stand or whatever, but I gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. And that dun dun dun, I would put it in like my top 5 wrestling intros.
Yeah.
With those 2 asterisks. Oh, look, another Trump supporter. Not Randy. I don't know anything about Randy's, but I know he seemed to be one of the good guys during the summer of 2020 when Jericho was tweeting stupid things like All Lives Matter. Randy seemed to be sort of the antithesis of that. But beyond that, I don't really know anything about Randy's politics.
Yeah.
Oh, cut to black. Why didn't I pause there? And now we're back. Damn it. I was talking about politics and couldn't. You really don't think there's any solution?
I'm not going to say that the TV can't do it.
I mean, what if I just pause right... I pause it like an even number there. You have to pause it like 102.
Okay.
You saw Randy Orton's dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, who was... he didn't wrestle at the first WrestleMania, but he was like the... not the manager, but the second for the heel tag team in the aforementioned main event of WrestleMania. When it was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. Yes, TV's Mr. T. With Jimmy Snuka in their corner against... Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff and Randy's dad, Cowboy Bob Orton. Or I think Bob Orton was a junior, Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., because Randy's grandfather was a wrestler too.
Interesting.
He was the second for the heel team at the original WrestleMania. He would actually make some appearances with Randy around this time. I'm not saying it was during this feud or anything, but in this era, he would be in Randy's corner a few times.
Yeah. Currently, the earliest Easter can be is March 22nd.
Interesting.
And the latest it can be is April 25th. Definitely, it sounds like there's definitely a lot more days in April available than in March, so.
I don't even know what determines it.
I forget the exact rule, but I know it's in connection to the equinox.
I don't remember what the storyline feud here was with Orton and the Undertaker. I know Orton had come in that legendary class around 2002. He would be part of Evolution, which was Triple H's sort of riff on the Four Horsemen. It was Randy and Dave Batista and Ric Flair and Triple H.
Interesting.
And then Randy would be the first one to split off from the group, and he would actually become the youngest world champion in the WWF, at least at the time, when he would beat Chris Benoit for the title at SummerSlam in 2004. By this point, they've taken the belt back off and gone back to Triple H, and then they're going to try something new with Triple H against Batista in the main event of this show. And, yeah, there's Randy's dad, Cowboy Bob, doing some stuff with Randy and Taker leading up to this match.
Nice.
I'm assuming Randy was probably the heel, even though, of course, he went babyface when he first left Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming he's probably the heel in this, but I don't know, because Undertaker was a heel and a babyface at different times. And again, like I said, I wasn't watching the show regularly, and I just don't remember. But yeah, I remember Randy primarily being a heel. He hasn't been a babyface too much of his run. He's been a heel more often than not.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess, is that Randy was the heel.
Yeah.
And one Mark Calloway was the babyface.
Makes sense. The other rule for Easter Sunday, it's the first Sunday after the first full moon that occurs on or after the spring equinox.
Fire! Yeah, fire!
And the spring equinox is set as March 21st. But if the 22nd is a Sunday and there's a full moon on the 21st.
Full moon.
The Druids with the torches leading the Undertaker in. Now look, I gotta say, Undertaker's another one like Kendra. I was a pretty big Undertaker fan. He was never my favorite wrestler, but I was always a fan of him in his various incarnations, whether it be a heel or a baby face, or whether it be the Dead Man or the American Badass. And at this time, you know, like I say, he was never my favorite, but I always enjoyed his work. I really enjoyed the character.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Mark Calloway was the decent guy, you know, the conscious of the locker room and all that. But for him to support Trump because he's afraid that letting trans women in sports is going to somehow harm his daughters, but then defend his continued friendship and association with Vince McMahon, whose heinous actions have really harmed countless people's daughters, is pretty fucking disgusting. So it's really hard to be a fan of his nowadays. There's no more heroes, right? See the Sarah tattoo on his neck. That was his wife at the time. Sarah, that's covered up now as he's married to Michelle McCool. Will you do something with her instead of making her growl?
I'm not trying to make her upset.
This is not Sarah or Michelle McCool. This is the cat. Wow, he's floating. Look at that.
He doesn't even look like he's floating.
Well, he's moving without walking.
I was going to say, now he might a little bit, but that angle is not working.
It's like Patrick Swayze at the end of Dirty Dancing.
What is wrong, little kitty?
At one point, if he fell and just kept getting dragged along.
He's riding a hoverboard.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Even though I don't think they existed back then.
Close enough. They just took the stick off of one.
Okay, I don't want to keep going on about this, but should I do something and try to get the closed captioning off?
I was fine with.
I don't think they exist.
I feel like there might be a way to get them.
I support you trying if that's what you want to do.
I mean, I know in some things, sometimes there's two different ways to get subtitles up here, and one is like through the TV, and one is through the app. Mm-hmm. Clearly, we've proven there's no subtitles for the app, but maybe the TV could provide.
Maybe.
I gotta find the appropriate place to pause and then come back without screwing everything up.
I'd say maybe once he's in the ring or something.
Yeah, I just want to get it perfectly even. It'd be so hard to match everything up.
It's up to you. It's entirely up to you.
I think we'll be fine without the closed captioning.
Okay.
They like the mascara on Mark. The Markscara. If you're a guy named Mark and you wear mascara, it's Markscara. Or if you're a wrestling fan, you wear mascara, it's Markscara.
I'd say the eye makeup always worked for The Undertaker.
Yeah, works for Batman too. Under that cowl.
Facts.
Like I say, personal feelings, real life ideas aside, this was not my favorite era of Undertaker as far as the gimmick. I mean, his work in the ring was probably better at this point than it was throughout the 90s. But I did like I liked the gimmick better in the 90s. I mean, I don't mind him showing more depth and more layers to the character and not just being the, unbeatable dead man. But at least from a look perspective, I like the old Undertaker look with the black outfit and either the gray gloves and boots, or I actually prefer the purple gloves and boots. And then the look around 97 when he had like the skin tight outfit, I thought that was about the best looking gimmick for the Undertaker. When he started wearing like the singlet top with like the just jeans or khakis or whatever, I didn't like it as much. But like I say, as much as and I'm not saying I didn't like the character, but I didn't like the character as much. But his work in the ring was probably better by this point than it was early in his career. And there's a very young Randy Orton.
Significantly younger.
A lot smaller than he is now.
Yeah.
He's definitely beefed up. He's got more hair back then. If you can believe it, as short as it is. Less tattoos. Like I said, this is just a couple years into his career. He would have started in WWE in like 2002, maybe 2003, and he would have only been wrestling for a year or so before that.
Wow.
So he was his dad was a pro wrestler, of course, and his grandfather, and he was. I don't know the whole story, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But Randy was in the Marines, and I think he was dishonorably discharged. But I think it was a situation where he felt like he was mistreated or misled to end up getting into it to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then so from there he would have transitioned into wrestling, like I say, come up through Ohio Valley, and then into WWF/WWE by like 2002, around the same time as the rest of the folks from Ohio Valley, like I say, John and
So what was
Dave.
up with Ohio?
Well, Ohio Valley Wrestling, that's just where the developmental program was at the time. What is now NXT was to a degree Ohio Valley Wrestling still exists. It's under different ownership now. But it was as far as I know, Danny Davis's wrestling group, and the WWF partnered with them to make sort of a developmental program.
Makes sense.
And like I say, it's just, I mean, part of it is probably the trainers there at the time, Jim Cornette and Danny Davis, and part of it's just they just had a lot of really talented people there at that point. Like I say, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, Randy Orton, John Cena, Dave Batista, Nick Dinsmore, even guys like the Basham brothers, Damaging, I can't remember if it was Doug Basham or Danny Basham, who was who, and they didn't really get a fair shake on the WWE main roster, but they were always considered really great hands, and there's just a lot of talent there at the time.
Yeah, what would be the equivalent nowadays?
Of the promotion?
Like, you're saying that all these people out of the Ohio thing and whatnot, what would be? Is there anything?
Well, I mean, they have NXT now,
yeah,
which is even more native to the company. It's literally just like the third brand after. Well, I mean, it's hard to call Raw and SmackDown different brands because everybody moves between them now, but. So I mean that's developmental now, but at the time Ohio Valley was its own wrestling promotion, but then it was sort of adopted as the developmental territory for the WWE, and they had things similar to that too with like Heartland Wrestling, and I think maybe with one of the incarnation of Florida Championship Wrestling, certainly not the original version that Dusty was a part of and Eddie Graham had back in the day, but a later version of it. I think that's sort of how they led to having the Performance Center in Florida. It may not have even been called Florida Championship Wrestling. I know there was a wrestling promotion in Florida that they used as developmental before it became NXT.
Interesting. So, like, well, not it. I don't know what I'm trying to ask next. Like, it's there in my head, but that's as far as I can get.
That's some interesting selling.
I agree.
It's not even all NXT now because they've got this whole.
Oh, ouch! Yeah.
They've got this whole new program where they're partnering with various small wrestling promotions and wrestling schools across the country. So they're really trying to set up a whole network of developmental situations.
Interesting.
But I mean, NXT is like I guess it's like
the big one.
It's like AAA is for baseball. It's like the last step before the main roster. But even that's become blurred now because so many of the people who are on the main roster will go do stuff with NXT, and it's got its own TV show, and so I'm not even really sure. Ooh, that didn't look good. Undertaker was doing the ring, the rope walk and coming down with the clothesline, but I don't know. It just looked like he hit it awkwardly on Randy.
Yeah. All I know is that it looked painful when Randy was half out the ring. And then
with the leg drop, yeah. They do so much stuff out on the apron now. They always say, that's the hardest part of the ring, and they do all these moves there. It's become cliched at this point.
I'm sorry.
But it wasn't so much back then. Undertaker missing the boot and going over the top.
Way to go.
Almost kind of a Ric Flair, Ray Stevens bump. That was a big bump, too, coming off the apron and hitting on the barrier on the side.
Probably looked like he jumped.
This is the era, of course, when the WWF had adopted these solid black barriers around ringside. When I first started watching wrestling in the 90s, they had like the almost the bicycle rails. You think about that, you'd see.
I think you pointed that out on some of the older.
Yeah, and well, if you go back even beyond that into the 80s, I mean, you watch tapes of shows then they had no railings whatsoever. Especially like in the NWA. I'm not sure if it was as common in the WWF at the time, but there were plenty of shows where they had like no barricades whatsoever. There was nothing separating the fans from the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And that was the era where the fans were likely to try to attack a wrestler too. They really bought into it.
Interesting.
So nowadays, when it's far less likely for anybody to come in and try to interfere, not to say it doesn't ever happen, but you have this much more. I mean, it's a good look though. That the black barricades look good. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah, I might be nostalgic for the guardrails they used to have. The black barricades do look good.
Yeah.
That's something they adopted during the Attitude Era, like 97, 98.
I got to see some local wrestling at a Comic-Con once. So it wasn't, like a proper setup show. I have no idea how they do the regular shows. But of course they didn't set up any sort of barrier between people in the ring. There was very much audience and wrestlers interacting with one another. Another time I got to see some wrestlers just do like a performance kind of match thing at a show. They were actually up on a stage.
I was talking about how I didn't particularly like... I didn't dislike the Undertaker gimmick, but I thought it wasn't as cool as the early versions of the Undertaker. Mm-hmm. He's got a belt on his pants. I hate wrestlers wrestling in a belt. Like Reigns, his current ring gear, he wears a belt. Like, you shouldn't be wearing pants that require a belt to wrestle in.
That's probably fair.
It just looks wrong. I mean, if it was like a street fight or something, you come in your jeans and your cowboy boots, that's fine. But just for the majority of matches, you should be in some sort of actual wrestling gear, and pants with a belt shouldn't count as wrestling gear.
That's probably fair. You have to imagine some moves, the belt probably hurts, depending on the way you move.
Yeah, especially if you pull it out and start whipping somebody with it.
I don't think that's allowed in some matches.
It depends if it's a,
Is it a ladder
match or a ladder match or just a no DQ match.
There's wrestling. You think they care what's allowed?
We got Earl Hebner as the referee in this match. We saw him on the outside of the Money in the Bank match, so he's working 2 matches in a row.
The camera or whatever created a big red X.
Yeah, I've seen that multiple times. People using flash photography.
Yeah. Probably not seeing...
The flash is not helping you. Unless you have like one of the big flashes, it's not doing much for you under those big lights at the stadium.
As a sense, I'm probably not seeing quite as much now, I'd guess. Am I correct or wrong?
Well, I mean, people are probably taking pictures on their phones more than you're not going to see cameras. Other than some of the ringside photographers, if those even exist anymore.
That's what I'm thinking.
They're just going to be using their phones, and they may or may not use a flash. But like I say, as well lit as the arena is, the flash isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. I mean, it just depends on exactly where you're sitting and what the lighting is like.
Oh gosh, this is still before iPhones.
But that light's going to disperse, before it really illuminates anything in the ring, so...
This is flip phone now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhat still, at least?
Yeah, like early flip phone era, really, because I had a cell phone at the time, and I don't think it was a flip phone.
Interesting.
It was like a Motorola with Snake built in. I don't think it was... Although, my dad's flip phone... My dad's cell phone at the time might have been a flip phone.
Yeah, I always flip phones being
remember.
associated like the earlier 2000s. So.
Well, I mean, they were like the big chunkier flip phones, where like you had the big, not the big gray brick phone like Zach Morris had on Saved by the Bell, and like
No,
Paulie Dangerous.
Like the little one
sometimes.
I had that went into that pink.
Yeah,
dog
no,
case.
I know that's the one we're talking. But I'm saying, like even before that, like earlier in the '90s, you had the first version of the flip phones where it was kind of the phone itself was bigger and the flip part was like really small and just sort of like what you would associate with like the cover for a battery pack or something.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you had the keypad and everything underneath that, and then you have the more modern version of the flip phones, where the whole thing was pretty compact, but the flip part and the phone part were a little more equal.
Yeah.
And I'm trying, like I had the first one. The first flip phone I had was probably like 2009.
Really?
The red one I had, I think was the first one I had. I want to say it was around then.
If I remember correctly, I got my first phone in 2009. It was a flip phone.
But was it a flip phone?
Yes, it was. And it did not have service.
Because
I just had it for games.
The first 3 cell phones I had were not flip phones. 2 of them were just solid phones, like kind of like a remote control, for lack of a better description. And then
but any of them are Nokia.
The third one actually, it didn't flip, but it slid. It kind of had a slide to it.
I had a couple sliding phones. Those are cool.
And then the 4th cell phone I had was a flip phone, the red flip phone. Then I had the blue flip phone. Then I had one where it actually spun, like the bottom half of the keyboard, like spun around.
Wasn't it like, if it's the one I'm thinking of, wasn't it like keyboard on one side and music controller stuff
Something
on the other
like
side?
That, yeah.
Phone and MP3 player.
Yeah, that might have been the first phone I had that had a built-in MP3 player.
Really?
And then that would be pretty standard after that for a long time. Until the one I have now I had to download. Well, I had Verizon Music or whatever, or Google, Samsung Music or whatever on it for the longest time, and then they discontinued that, and I actually had to download an MP3 player.
Interesting. Yeah, if I remember correctly, my first phone was 2009, because I want to say it was my 8th birthday that y'all got me it. Could be wrong, though. But that was a flip phone. And then I had 2 different sliding phones after that. One was like the rectangular one with purple, and the other one was circular and red, and that was the best. It had animated wallpapers.
I think we still have those phones downstairs in a box.
Possible. I'm pretty sure you still have the round one. That's still one of my favorite phones.
We had the purple one, too. The black and purple one.
I will say, that phone was sturdy. I dropped it on concrete. I think I did technically break off half the keyboard, like it's not connected to the screen, but it still functioned perfectly fine.
That's why I'm a Samsung devotee. The first Samsung phone I had, I threw it, like 30 yards across our backyard into the big tree?
Something like that.
I didn't mean to hit the tree. I was just trying to throw the phone, but I shouldn't have been doing that either. But it actually hit, and it was no worse for wear. I closed it in a car door. That phone was incredible. It held up through everything.
Some phones were very sturdy. Like I said, those, I never had one, but I've always heard...
I think that was the one that I got wet, like, less than a week after I got it, too. I thought I was going to have to replace it, but then it was fine. And that was before phones were waterproof or water-resistant in their advertising.
Yeah.
In the ring, we got a rough bump here. It was Undertaker setting Randy up for his finish at the time. It was going for the last ride, but then he crumpled. Maybe Randy was working the knee or something. We were talking about phones and stuff.
I bet none of them even have a phone on them right now.
And here comes Cowboy. Okay, he's got his arm, wrapped up like he's got a broken arm. That was a big gimmick he had back in like the 80s where he had a broken arm and he just kept the cast on and would use it to interfere.
Interesting.
That's the call back to that. That's probably not going to be enough to take The Undertaker out, I wouldn't think, in 2000. Oh, I know it wasn't, because Undertaker hadn't lost at WrestleMania at this point. That wouldn't happen until, 2014?
Maybe.
And like I said, you can argue whether or not they should have ended the streak. I don't think they should have. But if you're going to do it with somebody who's not... Brock Lesnar, he didn't need the rub at the time. He didn't really gain anything from it. Mm-hmm. You could have really made somebody with that.
Definitely.
And then, of course, Taker would actually lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 2 years after that. And I remember at the time thinking, well, the best thing about Brock Lesnar ending the streak is that Roman Reigns didn't get the chance to. I mean, I love Roman now. I didn't hate Roman back then, but I knew people would have hated that if he had been the one in the streak at that time.
I agree.
But again, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, It probably didn't cost them any business. It's not really going to change anything. It doesn't really change the Undertaker's legacy, which I don't give a fuck about at this point, or even the legacy of the company at all. But still, it's one of those things that once it's gone, you can't ever get it back. And they should have kept it going, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think, like I say, if it was going to end, it should have been somebody who really could have gotten the rub from it. Really could have taken it somewhere.
Who do you think that would have worked with?
I don't know. I mean, not really. I can't think of anybody who actually wrestled. I mean, Randy at this time, he'd already been world champion, even though the run was sort of aborted and wasn't maybe what they thought it would be. So something like this could have worked. And I mean, there were plenty of years where, well, to be honest with you, I thought Shawn was going to beat him in 2010 at WrestleMania 26, the one we watched the match from last year, because it was Shawn Michaels' career versus the streak. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think Shawn was going to retire then. So, but again, it wouldn't have necessarily given Shawn that much rub at that point. He didn't need the win. I just thought he wasn't going to retire, so I thought he was going to win. Randy Orton in 2005 would have been a better choice to end the streak than Brock Lesnar in 2014.
That's fair.
Just because of, where they were in their career and what it would have meant to them.
How do you think Randy Orton's career would have gone had he ended the streak or whatever here?
I mean, to be fair, Randy had a very good career. He's a 14-time world champion. He was obviously always heavily pushed. I don't think it really would have changed much for him. Mm-hmm. I think, his win against Mick Foley at Backlash in 2004 was a bigger deal than ending the streak at this point would have been. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Like, I don't know who really would have benefited.
Ultimately, that was not a good person.
Certainly looking at his actual opponents,
shouldn't have done
and then even looking at fantasy opponents, like who they could have booked him against, and it would have meant something, and really, meant big business going forward. I don't know who that would have been.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years after this, maybe 2008. Edge and Undertaker had a match for one of the world titles, and he was undefeated at WrestleMania at that time too.
Damn.
So that was like streak versus streak, and I know a lot of people thought Edge might actually end Taker's streak.
Nope.
Yeah, this was like the era where we really started paying attention to the streak, where it really started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I want to say around 2003 at WrestleMania 19. That was like one of the first years I really remember it being brought up as being a big deal. I'm sure they had referenced it at some point before that. But that was kind of the time where we really started counting the streak and talking about it as a streak and not just, Taker hasn't lost at Mania.
Interesting.
And like I say, at the end of the day, he only lost twice.
No, he had. You didn't answer my question about phones. Did you ever have a Nokia?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't. I don't really remember what. I think. My first phone might have been a Nokia.
I never had one.
I think my dad had a Motorola. Yeah, I think my first two phones were Nokias.
Nice.
To be honest with you.
Very nice.
And then after that, I don't really recall what the brand was of any of my phones until I got my first Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is Samsung, of course.
I was, going through, I mentioned the two sliding phones. I had one of those rotating phones that you mentioned.
You didn't have the same one I did.
Maybe not.
It wasn't the same one. You might have had something similar. I think your mother had one that matched mine at some point.
Maybe.
But I don't think you had one.
And then, I had, like,
you had a similar phone. I remember the one you had, but it wasn't the same one.
But same concept. And then I had just a plain rectangular phone. No fancy features. Just buttons. And then it was after that I got my first smartphone. And my first one, I don't know the brand, but it was an Android. And I had 3 of them. And then I temporarily had a Windows phone that sucked. And then I got my first iPhone, which was the 5C.
We're seeing on WrestleMania right now the little-known follow-up to the NWO, the SLUT. I guess Christy Hemme was one of the many WWE divas that posed for Playboy, and during her feud with Trish knocked her down and spray-painted slut on her back. I was making a joke because that was the big thing the NWO was doing in like 96 and 97. They'd take people out and spray paint NWO on them.
Okay.
There's the old Women's Championship belt. One of the least good-looking belts in WWE history.
Which is funny, in my opinion.
Not as bad as some of the belts. Oh, and I should mention, too, we were talking about the Intercontinental title on the last episode, and I was saying how I wasn't sure if they were still using the big green-looking one that looked similar to both the Revile 24/7 Championship and the old WWF Championship that they were using back when Hogan first won the title. And they have changed it. It's more similar to like a smaller version of the World Championship now.
Yeah.
With the WWE logo in the middle and the gold around it.
I don't know why, but the women just sell that it's the 2000s so much more than the men do.
Yeah, Christy Hemme is the challenger here for the match, and she's got Lita as her corner woman for whatever reason. I don't know what was going on at the time. Lita and Trish had a pretty... again, I don't want to throw around the word legendary or iconic too much, but a pretty well-regarded rivalry in this era. They were the first women to main event Raw.
Nice.
Around this time.
Bedazzled text.
Probably a couple of years before this.
Do you remember all those,
I remember when Lita broke her neck filming the television show Dark Angel, and she made her comeback in Columbia at a Raw I was attending.
That's pretty cool.
That's the one. That's the one I got you.
Columbia.
Brought you the Lita T-shirt from.
Nice.
The green Lita T-shirt.
I remember that T-shirt. No idea what happened to it, but I remember it.
I think it's packed up downstairs. I'm pretty sure we still have it.
Probably. Do you remember all those old stickers, GIFs, etc. people would use on the internet that were always bedazzled?
No.
Wow. Do you remember those, Gabby?
No, I have no fun what you're talking about.
How do we like the faux marquee back there that's showing the various matches coming up? Though. Now showing Trish versus Christy Hemme with Lita.
I think it's neat.
I have no idea who the heel is and who the... I'm assuming Trish is maybe the heel since she's coming out knocking Christy Hemme down and spray painting slut on her back.
That would probably
But
make
I honestly
sense.
don't remember. How do you like Trish's... You always rate the outfits. How's Trish's...
Trish's the blonde with the belt, right?
Uh-huh.
It's okay. It's like my second favorite of these.
Got some suspenders with a little crop top.
It's an option.
Christy Hemme is barely dressed.
Yeah, the red outfit
very,
I'm not
short
crazy
skirt.
about. That outfit, I'm not crazy about it, but it's screaming 2000s. I'm here for the 2000s vibe of it. But,
Trish with
the
the
other
shove
two
to
are
get things
options.
started. Oh, my computer trying to restart again. I said another time. I have notes here. What do you want?
Cool.
5 seconds later is another time.
Technically.
Mostly the cat fell asleep to wrestling. Probably multiple times at this point, but still.
Not one of the better stair bumps of all time, but I guess it was serviceable.
Yeah. WWE.com.
You know, I was complaining about belts earlier. I guess I don't have as big a problem with suspenders.
Two different things.
But I guess if I think about it, that's kind of silly, too. You just don't see them that often. As Trish is rocking the suspenders with her outfit.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the suspenders, honestly.
Honestly, not that far removed from what she would wear in the, or what she did wear in the Schoolgirl Battle Royal at Taboo Tuesday the previous year. Taboo Tuesday was an event. I think they did it for a couple of years in a row, where they actually had fans vote on various things. Like, for instance, they had like 15 different wrestlers who could be the challenger for the Intercontinental. In fact, that's where Shelton Benjamin won the Intercontinental title that he was wearing at this show. He was the one who was voted to be the challenger at Taboo Tuesday, and there were other cases where you could vote on stipulations, and I think one was like, it was Chris Benoit, Edge, and Shawn Michaels, and the fans got to vote on which one of them would get the shot at Triple H's world title, and then the other two would be getting a shot at the tag team titles. And I guess the women's battle royal was like they got to vote on what the women were going to wear. Like maybe it was lingerie and schoolgirl outfits and schoolgirl outfits won.
I have so many questions.
And I remember Trish having I think that top might actually be from her schoolgirl outfit, but she had like a little tie and a little plaid skirt to go along with it.
Well, what the fuck was the 2000s?
Oh, that's a nice little move with the split on the top. Avoiding the charging Trish.
Can't sparkly on the side?
Trish's?
Yes.
Maybe. They do have, like, some sort of a line down the side. Could also be like I think her suspenders might be sparkly.
Maybe. They're still
Well,
questionable.
they have some rhinestones on them. They're not, like, bedazzled. Well, I don't know. Would rhinestones be bedazzled?
Maybe.
They're not,
I mean, when I think bedazzled, I am thinking of the things, like, covered in it, but just a little bit might also technically be bedazzled.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is they're not, I don't know. They're not, like, just completely sparkly material. It's just black suspenders with some little stones on it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen bedazzled book covers?
Possibly.
I've been seeing them lately, and they are really pretty, but I have zero patience for bedazzling something.
While we're watching, too, I want to mention, I like to bring up the star ratings that Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer gave the matches. Not that I think Dave's opinion on the match is the end-all, be-all or anything, but I just want to try to give some sort of indication about how the matches were received at the time, at least by one person's opinion. Actually, I was never a regular Observer reader. I've read a lot more recently in the collections he's published. I was a reader of the Pro Wrestling Torch at the time, and I actually tried to find the PW Torch review of this event, but it wasn't as readily available online. I didn't want to subscribe just for that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I got rid of all my Torch. I had the Torch this was in, but I got rid of them all at one point when we cleaned out our basement. Kind of regret that, but they were not in great shape, so...
I'm sorry.
Sort of an inverted twist of fate there by Christy Hemme. I don't think that's going to get the job done.
Almost.
But I wanted to review just a little bit of what we've seen, just to sort of give you some idea of how the matches were received. The Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio match got 3.25 stars. The Money in the Bank match got 4.5 stars. And remember, this is on a scale of 5, which had been broken at this point. A couple matches had received over 5 stars, but it was not nearly as common back then as it is now for them to break the scale. And even now, there's only so many matches that are going to get over that.
Yeah. But
this is basically on a 5-star scale still at the time, so... 4.5 for the Money in the Bank match, 3.5 stars for Orton and Undertaker, and this match would get the dud rating, which seems a little harsh. Fans are cheering to Trish get the win. She's raising her arms. Is it over?
I truly missed it.
It is. The ref's raising her hand. I wasn't sure if she got the 3 count. I saw her going for the cover.
Alright. Also, I looked up the definition of bedazzled. Decorate,
is that necessary, really?
Yes. Decorate using sequins, beads, glitter, etc. So technically, her suspenders are probably considered bedazzled. But they should have they ever had a bedazzled belt?
Not that I know of.
There should be a belt that's just covered in rhinestones. I mean, they could use, like, proper gems. I'm sure they have the budget for that somewhere, but...
I mean, I'm sure there was some belt that looked similar to that at some point. And somebody might have bedazzled it. I think Tiffany Stratton, like, bedazzled the Money in the Bank briefcase that she had.
Nice.
Last year, I guess it would be at this point.
Nice.
I think she cashed it in this year, but...
Yeah. Alright.
Getting ready for what is probably the best match on the show, and which I also think may be one of the worst for us to talk about, because it's just going to be a really good wrestling match. I'm not sure what we're going to have to say about it, but it was 2 of my favorite wrestlers at the time, and of all time, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels meeting for the first time. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the longest match on the show. Which we should point out, this is an almost 4-hour show, and I calculated there's less than 2 hours of actual in-ring action.
Wow.
So in some ways, this is almost sort of the prototype for the modern-day PLEs, where you have like 4 or 5 matches, but the 3.5 hours are filled in by all this other stuff. And it's not even like promos and angles and whatnot. It's just, it's commercials for all intents and purposes. And not even really, every now and then you'll have like a backstage segment, but it'll usually be like a commercial for something. Mm-hmm. And then every now and then you'll have something relevant to one of the storylines, but there's just so much filler on the shows now. And the matches do get a good amount of time usually. So that's nice, but I wish they'd thrown a couple more matches and cut a little bit of the fluff, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you're watching it live, too, there is so much in between the matches. It gets a little interminable.
Understandable.
I don't remember feeling that way at the time of this show, but like I say, and again, so we're getting a package here. We're going to get some interviews.
Lots and lots of
I haven't really seen a lot of
packages.
interviews or angles or anything, but the packages I don't mind, because I understand you want to set up the feud. You want to, remind the people who were watching and fill in the people who maybe didn't see all of it. So I'm fine with that, but that's some of what we get on modern PLEs. It's not the majority of what comes in between the matches.
Yeah. Shawn is somebody who's definitely wearing some bedazzled stuff.
If you say so. I always liked Shawn's ring gear, though, when he first switched to the Heartbreak Kid persona and he started wearing, like, the pleather vest and jacket, and he had the, originally it was just, like, zebra stripe patches, and then it would become the heart shortly after that to fit with the Heartbreak Kid moniker. But I always really liked Shawn's ring gear. What it would evolve into, especially after his comeback, I didn't like as much as the early Shawn Michaels stuff, but it was usually pretty good looking.
I'm trying to think how many male wrestlers have worn a fair bit of bedazzled stuff, because that definitely seems like it's more common among the women.
I don't remember
have
Shawn having a lot of
jewels all
bedazzled.
over
He'd
their
have like mirrors and stuff.
He'd have some
his
stuff.
gear.
Some sparkly stuff.
Hey, Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top was in the crowd.
Okay.
And Mark Helgenberger from CSI. Gotta see the celebs at WrestleMania, and even like at Raw nowadays, it starts to get ridiculous. Like, I don't mind them being there, I don't mind them showing it, but sometimes it just feels sort of set up.
Yeah.
And like, are they really sitting there that whole time? Or are they there long enough to, get the glamour shot, and then they're gone? Okay, talked about his ring outfit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I need to see it again. I'd say that's bedazzled.
It's like mirror. It's like little mirrors. That's not bedazzled. Bedazzled should be like tiny little gems.
Maybe. It's giving the shiny, sparkly.
Like, I did not like
vibe.
this era Shawn Michaels as much. Like I said, I liked the old, just the pleather vest or jacket that had the zebra stripes or the broken hearts on it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't crazy about the chaps. But this is one of the better late era Shawn Michaels ring gear, I'd say.
Alright.
Sort of gives me the vibes of that guy playing the saxophone in the band in The Lost Boys. They just seem completely out of place.
Okay.
Sort of what it feels like to me.
It's definitely interesting. I like it. It's a good interesting.
What's with the streamers? Is this a Japanese match?
Good different colors and belts and things.
I think in Japan the fans are actually the ones throwing the streamers in. I don't think they're coming down from the ceiling.
Interesting.
Shawn was he was noticeably leaner by the time he made his comeback in 2002 from his heyday in the early to mid 90s to late 90s, I guess. I guess it was 98 when he, I guess you can't say retired, but took a break.
Alright.
And there's Kurt Angle.
Nice. I don't think he's done much bedazzling.
America's Ass. Remember that episode?
Yes I do. See, little do we know, he doesn't wear bedazzled stuff, but he is bedazzling in his free time.
Maybe he's glamming up his Olympic medals. They weren't shiny enough.
I tried looking up
Pretty sure Kurt's got a singlet,
belts.
but he's got the straps down already.
Interesting.
So it just looks like he's wearing shorts.
I thought he came out in just shorts.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's a singlet. Kurt always wore singlets. I don't ever remember wearing anything but a singlet. He's just got the straps down already, which is, it's not uncommon for a wrestler to wear a singlet and take the straps down at some point.
Interesting to come out with them already like that,
Yeah,
though.
he was already with them down. And
now he's putting them up.
He was just running late on getting dressed.
Lol. He just wanted to show off that he doesn't need the belt or suspenders or anything. He's got his one solid outfit going on.
This match would get 4 3/4 stars from Mr. Meltzer, and I think it got a similar rating in the Torch. One of the best matches of the year, especially in the WWF, which you would expect from these two. And like I say, the longest match on this show, about 27 minutes, I believe.
Damn.
Of bell-to-bell action.
Damn.
I have no idea who that referee is. It's not Charles Robinson.
It's not one you can...
Could be his like younger brother or something, but it's not Charles.
Alright. I still don't really know the
Slap
referees,
from
so.
Shawn. Kurt with a double leg takedown. Showing off the amateur skills. Waist lock takedown.
Does he have black straws on his thing?
Yeah, maybe with some gold trim. Speaking of Kurt.
Interesting.
You say he. And this is when Shawn, yeah, he's actually wrestling with like the chaps over his, or I guess they're just kind of like pleather pants. He doesn't even have the chaps on.
Shawn has a lot of layers to his looks.
But it's got like it looks like he's wearing the chaps on because like the pants kind of flare out there. They're not like actual tights. Like you would expect from a wrestler.
Lots of layer and shape and texture and color. I like it though.
And can you believe we're not even halfway through the show yet?
I know. You pulled up the thing. I'm like, hold up, what?
There's like 3 matches left after this.
What?
This show is long.
Yeah.
Well, we knew that going in, and it's hardly the longest WrestleMania of all time. Not even talking about the 2-day WrestleMania.
What is the longest?
I'm sure there's one that passed 6 hours. If you look in the
I don't want to watch that one.
Look in the 2010s.
All right, back to my WrestleMania list.
I wasn't suggesting you do another deep dive, but I know it did get ridiculously long before they started splitting it up into 2 days. So, if you look at like 2018, 2019's run times,
Yeah.
they're really going to be pushing the envelope. I could do that if you want to talk.
Okay, I didn't have much to say. I was catching glimpses of rainbows from Shawn's clothing. I don't know if he's got something reflective or if it's just the way it's reacting to something.
Oh, yeah, he's got something reflective on there.
Probably. We already talked about him being bedazzled.
Well,
Kurt Angle is doing his bedazzling.
Will Wikipedia show runtime for the show?
I thought it does.
I don't know. I know it has match times.
Ah. Okay, what you thinking, Gabby?
I guess I could just log into...
I don't think... What do you mean, what you thinking? Nothing. This is an empty space up here.
Then how are you supposed to do a podcast while you're reacting to this match?
A reaction doesn't require thinking.
Debatably. Communicating said reaction does.
I can't communicate.
What are you doing on a podcast?
Throwing words out my mouth?
That's just poor communication.
Exactly!
You need to get up that skill.
That skill is locked at level 0.
I bet your sim would disagree.
What do you mean my sim would disagree?
Your sim would be working on that skill.
My
box.
my sim is stuck at home doing other shit.
Sims can practice Quizma in the mirror.
You think I practice Quizma in the mirror?
You
I go
could.
doop doop dop doop doop in the mirror. I make funny faces and weird sounds in the mirror.
I guess that's step 1. What just happened here?
Okay, WrestleMania 35, which was 2019, was 5 hours and 20 minutes. Just because, we were talking about run times of WrestleManias.
Yes.
Okay, whoever's squeaking stopped.
That
Very
was
annoying.
Dylan's chair, I believe.
Well, it was the person moving in the chair.
Yeah, I guess.
So, let's see. What about WrestleMania 34? How about, here's WrestleMania 32. Let's see.
Okay.
WrestleMania 32 was 4 hours and 49 minutes. So
That's longer than
5:20
this.
5:20 seems to be
The longest.
the benchmark at this point. Which is still very long. And that's just the main show. That doesn't include any sort of pre-show that they might have had that year.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they were showing on the nowadays the pre-shows are all just talking heads and packages and stuff. But at one time, like this show for instance, they had like a Battle Royal on the pre-show, and it wasn't uncommon to have matches on the pre-show at one time. So
I feel like I remember there being matches on a pre-show.
So that show could have easily pushed 6 hours, which again is nearly double what pay-per-views were when I started watching wrestling.
Yeah. That's long.
Okay, by the way,
What?
WrestleMania 20, closed captioning. Or subtitles, whatever. WrestleMania 22, same thing. This seems to be the only WrestleMania on it that doesn't have subtitles. What the hell, Peacock and WWE? What
Even
was so
though I
bad about this
briefly
show that
searched
you
it all,
couldn't
yeah.
have subtitles?
I didn't even see like anybody discussing that online. We need to get on Reddit, start that discussion.
I'm not on Reddit.
I have a Reddit account, but I don't
I'm
use
on
it.
Reddit.
Alright, Dylan, you're in charge of that now. Lots of movement. That was a poor comment, I'm sorry.
This is a spectacular match if you just want to sit down and watch a great match. I don't know how much we're going to have to say about it.
There was a moment earlier, I saw like Shawn was getting ready to do a push-up and
Unless we're gonna
Kurt
sit
was
and
like going over him, and then Kurt came running back and Shawn had gotten up and he like flipped Kurt over.
Unless we're going to actually do commentary here. You know, Michael's with a headlock now, holding
I don't know the moves enough to do commentary.
angle down, referee checking on him.
My commentary
His ankle's
was
not ready
a
to
lot
give
of
up.
movement.
By the way, Shawn's got a belt.
But you like Shawn.
Son of a bitch. Well, I didn't say I like Roman Reigns too. I just wish he wouldn't wrestle in a fucking belt.
Okay, that's fair. I'm watching a match and trying to talk about it and typing. It's two different conversations and I'm not looking at the typing. It's going great. You have not stopped squeaking.
I move, okay? I'm not.
No, not okay. The wrestlers move.
I'm not a still person. I don't sit still.
You're not still a person?
I don't sit still, okay? That's incredibly uncomfortable.
Okay, well, again, if you're watching this show just to watch the show, I highly recommend focusing on this match. It's easily the best match on the show, one of the best matches of the year. For the podcast, though, I'm not sure we're going to have a whole lot to say because it's just a straight-up really great wrestling match. So unless we want to do commentary, tell the story, look at that. Double clothesline over the top rope. Shades of Mick Foley or Diamond Dallas Page. I have a quiz here.
Ooh, quiz.
WWE 2000's multiple choice quiz. Want to see how you two do.
Oh, no. Not from personality
Since we're watching
quizzes.
WrestleMania squarely in the middle of the 2000s, and Shawn's clearing off the table there. Taking out the monitors. They still had the big chunky monitors back then, not the little tablets.
Built into the computer. Now. Into the computer, yep. Into the table, the desk, the thing.
Yeah.
Not the computer.
But he cleared off he went back in to stop the count.
Would you like to build a computer into your computer today, sir?
Yes. How much will it cost me?
5,000.
No. Now Kurt's going to take advantage of the cleaned off table. Vertical suplex. Nope. Shawn with the reversal.
A chop.
I bet somebody in the crowd is wooing right now. Or was wooing back then at this moment. Is that Rick Rubin in the audience?
I have no idea.
Might be. Oh.
Ouch.
Like he was going to go for the angle slam and just wound up ramming Shawn's back into the post.
That had to go for it.
So anyway, to this quiz that I found on jetpunk.com, I can't verify whether it's an accurate quiz or not, but we'll see as we go along. In October 2000, who was revealed to have run over Stone Cold Steve Austin the previous year?
Me.
The options are Triple H, Rikishi, Chris Jericho, or Taz.
My best guess would be Triple H.
Dylan?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, participate.
No, I'm gonna look stupid.
I'm giving you multiple choice. Triple
I'm
H.
gonna look stupid.
You can't make yourself look stupid when we already know you are.
I did not say that. I do not.
Alex is being mean.
No, thanks a lot, Alex.
I've been teasing
And I think
him
you just
all day.
spit on my hand.
I doubt it.
I'm pretty sure
It's
you
okay.
did.
You're smart. You're gonna get this. Come on. What do you think it is?
No,
Look, you already shared with the people that you're not thinking, so.
fuck you.
You're the one who said that.
Is your entire job on this show to insult me?
You said that one yourself.
Still.
Whoever's listening, they can rewind and hear you admit that. So.
Okay, it's different. I insult myself. Okay.
Okay, so in storyline, Dylan, in October 2000, who was revealed to have run over Stone Cold Steve Austin the previous year? Triple H, Rikishi, Chris Jericho, or Taz?
I don't know Triple H.
No, it was Rikishi.
Damn.
But then it was revealed that he was working for Triple H.
Ah.
Oh, great. Now that I clicked one of them, we're tying now.
Oh no.
Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H battled The Undertaker and Kane in the main event of Backlash 2001. What was the unique stipulation for the... Okay, this is just never going to work.
I have
So
no
horrible
idea what you
quiz.
just said.
Yeah, 'cause I was trying to read it fast, because now all of a sudden we're being timed, and me trying to read it out to y'all. Okay, well that quiz sucks. Fuck you, Jet Punk. Dylan didn't seem to want to participate anyway, so.
Wow.
What else have we got? Shawn Michaels with the up and over.
Still
Back
a
in the
hook
ring,
back.
waist lock, belly to belly, overhead belly to belly, release suplex by Kurt Angle. The year before this, Kurt and Shawn were both involved in world title matches at WrestleMania. Kurt would unsuccessfully challenge Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship, the one currently held by JBL. And Shawn would be part of the triple threat with Triple H and Chris Benoit, in which Chris Benoit won the world championship.
And all of it would be subtitled.
And like I say, of course, it feels different now, knowing how the Benoit story ended, but the triple threat match at WrestleMania 2004, WrestleMania 20, that's the best match I've ever seen.
Nice. I don't know what the best match I've ever seen was.
Even at the time, it wasn't my favorite match, because there's something that makes a match your favorite beyond just the quality of it. Not to say that my favorite match isn't a quality match, but yeah, that triple threat was amazing. It was the first match I ever saw that was a 5-star match. There's no question about it. And like I say, it feels a lot differently now. But still, for the action in the ring, it's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
We just got a replay of that spot where Kurt jammed Shawn's back on the ring post.
Still looked very painful.
I don't like Shawn's boots. Like, they're fine.
Can hardly
Why are
see
they
his
gray and
boots.
black? Shouldn't they have like some red on them or something to match with his chaps better?
I don't know. I mean, I can kind of understand the black, just like let them fade into the pants. But a pop of red wouldn't look bad there either, since it would still match.
A red may help, but it doesn't look bad.
As I mentioned before, Shawn was known in this era for wearing like chaps over his tights, but now he's switched to actual pants in the ring that, you know, flare at the bottom. They're not tight, but they have a design to look like they're chaps. You see how they have like the big belt on them, and like the ass is... He's not missing the ass, but there's lines on the tights to make it look like he's wearing the chaps.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm missing the ass.
Not my favorite look of his. Are you missing America's ass, Kurt Angle?
I thought Ray had it at this WrestleMania.
There's multiple America's asses.
That was your comment earlier in the show. Well, I was going to say they were both.
Anyone can wear America's ass.
No. Just no.
Anyone can wear it, or anyone can wear it out.
Oh, gosh.
Shawn missed the elbow drop off the top. And now the straps are coming back down.
The yellow light. It looks a little weird.
Kurt's
like
stalking his
stalking
prey.
him.
Going for the angle slam. Once known as the Olympic slam. And then I believe the U.S. Olympic Committee, or the International Olympic Committee, whoever asked them to stop calling it that.
Interesting. I guess it somewhat makes sense.
I guess they, have a trademark on it or a copyright.
Probably.
It'd be a trademark, I guess.
Probably something like that.
In case you don't realize, Kurt is a legitimate gold medal winner. He legitimately won gold medal in wrestling at the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996. That looked a little clunky, Shawn. It looked like he was very top-heavy. Like his front end was going down too much as he came off the top rope.
Yeah. I'd assume that's possible.
I think he...
Wow.
I think he slipped a little bit on the top rope and probably didn't come off as clean as he would have liked to.
As I typed in WWE 2000s quiz, I got a pop culture quiz, with the first one being about Paris Hilton. I don't think Paris Hilton's been involved with the WWE.
Not that I know of.
That's a you thing.
I mean, I'd watch it. I don't mind Paris Hilton. She's got a new collection out at Walmart. That's really cool. It's like pink kitchen appliance.
Hey, you don't need to be talking about Paris Hilton right now. B, why did you say it so quietly?
I don't know. I didn't mean to say it quietly.
She's got this new collection out. It's fabulous.
No, it's hot.
It is hot in here, I'm not gonna lie.
You know what else is hot? My wife.
Well, that's not what I was going to say, but it doesn't disagree with what I was going to say.
You got married? How did I miss the ceremony?
What were you gonna say?
I chose not to. I insulted you enough on one show.
Fuck you! I already know what you're gonna say now. Fuck you!
I'm surprised you didn't know it already.
Maddie ban Alex.
You mean Lexi?
Yes, same person.
Ooh, well, they didn't go
Different
through the table.
timelines.
They hit the table and went behind it.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
They're filming Shawn through the hole left by
The computer.
the recess for the monitor, where they took the monitor out and now you can see through. Oh, Shawn with the acai moon. Well, not quite an acai moonsault.
See, they just hit
It's
the
more
table and go behind
of a
it.
springboard twisting Piscata. I guess Piscata is always a springboard twisting plancha. Or flying body press if you prefer.
Okay. I still don't know the names of the moves much. Because I'm probably going to forget that.
Well, in Mexico, a dive out of the ring that results in like chest-to-chest contact, like a flying body press, is called a plancha. If it's more of a diving headbutt, kind of a spear almost, it's a tope. And if it's a springboard, it's a piscata. But like I say, in the U.S., it's also just a flying body press and or a springboard, whatever. And Shawn set it up with his back to Kurt like he was going to flip himself over into a moonsault, which would be an acai moonsault. But instead of flipping, he actually twisted into more of a plancha or flying body press. Also, Kurt is bleeding.
Alright. Yes, he is. Just spitting it into the ring,
Looks like
too.
he might have lost a tooth or just got his lip busted.
Oof. Hate the taste of blood.
Shawn blocks the punch and fires back. See, this is why I wanted a quiz or something. It's just a really good match. There's not that much more to say. I don't know that anybody wants to hear us actually doing commentary.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're doing commentary, who's play-by-play, who's the analyst, and who's the color person?
I don't know.
Me, I'm all three of them, right?
Probably, honestly.
Maybe I'm play-by-play and analyst, and you're both color.
Okay.
I believe Kurt's going to win this match. Maybe through cheating. Oh, excuse me.
Sleepy. Long show.
Because
Alcohol.
Because Kurt was the heel at this time. We're just saying disjointed words now.
Yep.
Crickets. Butterfly. Nimbus. Muscles.
Okay.
Take your pick if it's like the muscles in our body or the seafood muscles.
I figured you were referring to Shawn Michaels.
Shawn hit the elbow drop that time.
I hit the iPad.
Is he going to set up his finisher sweet chin music? Gabby, talk for a minute so I can stop yawning. No, you don't have to freak out and just say some random thing. Look at the show for a second. Have some thoughts. Share them. It's very simple.
Have some thoughts. Okay, I've already failed.
Shawn he's setting up super kick, sweet chin music, but Kurt caught it and he's going to put him in the ankle lock, which was Kurt's submission finisher.
Interesting.
I don't know if this is the finish of the match or not.
I don't know either. How long has this been going?
Like I said, I don't recall what the exact finish was.
Did you determine what the longest WrestleMania was?
Again, for a single day show, I think 35 with 520 is going to be it.
Alright. Would you like to revisit that list of WrestleMania and locations that I have that we never circled back to?
We could go maybe WrestleMania. Did I find 34 on the list? I don't know if I found 34 or 33 for sure. And obviously the 2-day shows, if you combine both days, are going to be longer. But I don't think any individual day from any of those would be the longest.
Yeah. He's reaching for
No, I don't want to know the longest
grabbed the
match. I just get the longest match.
Interesting.
Although WrestleMania 35 does come up as one of the hits when I search for the longest WrestleMania.
Makes sense.
And it did not have the longest match on it, so I think it may well be the longest.
Alright. People flipped.
I'm trying to see if it happens to say anywhere on here. Pre-show. And yeah, there were matches on the pre-show that year. 4 matches.
You know, why hasn't there been a WrestleMania in Hawaii?
So you figure... Well, I don't know that you would get a really big crowd there because I don't think you would just get a big crowd locally. And I mean, WrestleMania is the kind of event that people travel to, but obviously travel to Hawaii would not be as cheap or easy as some other places. And again, I don't know that there's really a stadium built for that big of a show.
Yeah.
And it would just be a lot of travel for the company, too. I mean, bringing everybody out there. But anyway, back to, like I said, there's 4 matches on the pre-show of WrestleMania 35, and the actual show ran 5 hours and 20 minutes. So even if the pre-show was only an hour, that's 6 hours and 20 minutes.
Which M state?
Yes, here we go. The event received blah, 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 blah. Including the pre-show, the event clocked in at 7.5 hours, making it the longest pay-per-view the company ever produced. Not including the 2-day shows.
Alright.
So yeah, that was back when there was a real backlash against the runtime.
Alright.
Why are you saying alright to me like that? That's so annoying. Like, alright?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to acknowledge it without saying yeah for the 50th time.
Well, maybe if you weren't staring at your phone,
I
you
was...
could be more engaged.
Which M state claimed MI?
Huh?
Which M state claimed MI as the abbreviation? There's so many it could be. I can't remember which one it is.
It's not Michigan, because Michigan's MN.
Okay.
So, Mississippi is MS, so is it Missouri?
Probably. And then also, New Jersey got back-to-back WrestleManias.
Yeah, probably.
4 and 5.
Oh, well, yeah, Trump Plaza.
Yeah, 4 and 5. That is what that is.
Did I really say New Jersey maybe after listing the first 17 WrestleManias, including the back-to-back at Trump Plaza in New Jersey?
Maybe.
I think they did. There may be another one in New Jersey.
There probably is. I'm slowly going down the list.
At one of the football stadiums, but that might have been in New York. Because, like, the New York football teams, at least for a long time, played in New Jersey. Not Buffalo, but the 2 that are actual New York City, New York Jets and New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
They played in New Jersey for the longest time. I don't know where their home stadiums are now, but I know they did one at the football stadium in New York fairly recently. Not in the 2-day era, but prior to that.
Yeah.
So that actually technically could have been in New Jersey as well.
Alright. Yeah, I'm marking down a map of where all of these have been. Got a couple in Anaheim so far.
Yeah, I mentioned those 2000 and 1996, right?
Yeah, maybe. Won't be zoomed in too much. Maybe
96 was definitely in Anaheim. That's my favorite WrestleMania. And I'm pretty sure 2000 was as well.
See, the first in Anaheim was 96, and the other one was 2000.
Is there an echo in here?
I'm sorry, I was double checking, and I didn't remember exactly what you said, so I just went ahead and said which ones it was instead of saying yes.
Shawn has a tattoo on his ring finger of his left hand. I wonder if it's like a wedding ring tattoo.
That sounds interesting.
I always wanted to do that.
That would be neat.
Even before I ever got tattoos or married. That's what I wanted to do, but it didn't come to pass.
I'm sorry.
I have tattoos on my fingers now, but none of them are rings.
Yeah, that's not one I could manage to do. I don't like tattoos. I have one. They're one and done.
Yeah, you need it touched up. B, you need more.
Where's Detroit?
Michigan.
This has MI after it.
Well, maybe the person who created that doesn't know what they're doing. I'm almost positive, because MD is Maryland. I'm pretty sure MN is Michigan.
Ugh.
Shawn's back in the ankle lock, meanwhile, at WrestleMania back in 2005.
Aye.
It looked like he got out of it for a second. Yeah, I mean, this shows MI from Michigan.
So what's Missouri?
Missouri's MO. I knew that.
That makes sense.
But I'm almost positive Michigan, at least traditionally, has been MN.
Possibly. What's Maine?
ME.
Oh. What's Minnesota?
Minnesota would be MN, you're right. I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot. It's hard to keep up with all the freaking M's. Okay.
I was trying to think of other states with MI when you were asking me, and I could only come up with Missouri and Mississippi, so...
Yeah. Okay, I need to create a map of all the places WrestleMania and Taylor Swift have happened.
Not at the same time.
No, not at the same time. But, like, that's where wrestling has been put on, and that's where Taylor Swift has performed. That's the map I'm in need of. I'm currently up to WrestleMania 34. This has not taken as long as I thought it would. Damn, New Jersey coming in with even more. How many WrestleMania? What WrestleMania are we up to? Dad, what WrestleMania are we up to?
In real life or the one we're watching?
I was in real life.
In real life, as if this wasn't real life.
Yeah, no, like, what one's happening next week?
Did Shawn just tap? I think this match is over. Yep. WrestleMania 41, the 40th anniversary.
That's what I thought. So I need to go
I'm pretty sure we've covered this multiple times between this episode and the last one.
Alright, but do you know where 37 took place?
37, well that's still... Well, we said 35 was the last single night event, so...
Yeah, 36
was
2021.
So 36 was at the Performance Center. It was supposed to be in Tampa, which means 37 was in Tampa.
Okay, damn. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And then I don't know where 38 was. 39 was the one that Cody was supposed to win, so where was that?
This list
38 was Los Angeles again.
Aye.
And then 39 was Los Angeles again, and then 40 was Philadelphia. I don't know where 38 was.
Alright. And then, of course, this one's coming up in Vegas.
Yeah, second WrestleMania in Vegas. WrestleMania 9 was in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace.
Now to cross out all of the states that have yet to get a WrestleMania. Which is actually a lot.
WrestleMania 9 was the first WrestleMania that featured a heel winning the world title. Although he didn't walk out of the show with it, because after Yokozuna beat Bret Hart for the title, Hulk Hogan came out and challenged Yokozuna, and then Hulk Hogan would beat Yokozuna in like 30 seconds and walk out with the championship. It would be WrestleMania 2000, one of the aforementioned ones in Anaheim, that would be the first WrestleMania to see a heel walk out of the show as world champion, as Triple H retained. And of course, we say world championship. We use that interchangeably. The top title in the WWE/WWF has historically been referred to as the World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling Entertainment or WWE Championship. And then oftentimes they've had the world title as the secondary title. And right now I think they have the undisputed WWE Championship and the World Championship. But for all intents and purposes, when there was only one title, and it was referred to as the WWE title, it was the WWE's world title.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they didn't always refer to it as the world title is because even though the WWF had broken away, at the time the WWF had broken away from the National Wrestling Alliance, they still had a cordial relationship with the National Wrestling Alliance. So not to overshadow the National Wrestling Alliance's established world championship, they just referred to their title as the WWF Championship.
Yeah.
Alright, we got a non-wrestling segment coming up here in the show. Is the late Roddy Piper comes down to the ring. He wasn't dead at the time, though. It's not his ghost. He was very much alive at the time. This is officially a Piper's Pit segment, which was the name of the interview segment he historically hosted on World Wrestling Federation television in the 80s. And his guest is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, the man on whose back the current WWE Empire was largely built. And I believe a young Carly Colon is going to be involved as well. Carlito, of course, is back in the World Wrestling Federation after being gone for a decade or so. Member of the Judgment Day. Son of legendary Puerto Rican wrestler Carlos Colon.
I have finished my map. 34 states have not had WrestleMania.
So that would be more than half, if not.
Yes. Also, California has hosted the most. And several are tied for the least.
Well, everyone that had zero is tied for the least.
Well, yeah, not counting those, though.
No, then several are just tied at 1.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, we have...
It would be really weird if there was, like, none with just 1. All of them have had at least 2.
Hold up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that have only had 1. Canada's had more than all 6 of them.
Canada?
Individually. Canada has not had more than...
Canada's had just 2, right?
Yes.
2002 and 1990.
Yes. Okay, 34 states plus the 6 that have only had 1. How do you feel knowing that Canada has had more WrestleManias than you?
I haven't had any personally.
How do you feel about Canada having more WrestleManias than any of your home states?
It's fine. It's where they thought they'd draw the money, where the crowds would be. I mean, it's not like every place is entitled to have a WrestleMania.
That is true. Would you like to guess the states that only have 1?
Washington.
Yes.
Had WrestleMania 19. And now, well, how are they counting Nevada? Because it's only had 1. It's going to have a second one this year.
Yeah, I didn't count Nevada.
It has not had it yet. So technically, it's still only had 1.
Technically.
Idaho, Montana, Wyoming haven't had none. Utah's had none. Arizona's probably only had 1.
Yes.
The one we just watched last time, WrestleMania 26.
Yes.
New Mexico's had none. Did we determine if Colorado hosted 1?
They have not.
Okay, I didn't think they had, but I knew it was possible. Texas has had more than 1 because they've had at least 1 in Dallas and 1 in Houston. Oklahoma hasn't had any. Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas. Did we determine, did Minnesota ever get 1?
Minnesota did not.
Okay. They do have, the stadiums for it, but also being a cold weather city, because they're indoor stadiums, so. Illinois has had at least 2. Wisconsin's had none. Michigan's only had 1, right?
Nope.
They did said that. Oh, they did in like 2006 was in Michigan, wasn't it?
Maybe. I don't have the list up now.
I want to say it was. I do remember another one.
You don't remember 2006 at all.
I remember one in the 2000s being there. Now that you say it, because I remember they had like an auto-style logo for it, being the Motor City.
Yeah. 2006.
Indiana's only had 1 so far.
2006 was in Illinois. Indiana is one of the single ones.
Yeah, it's going to have another one. They've got the deal with it that started with the Rumble this year, but they haven't had the second one yet. Kentucky hasn't had 1. Tennessee hasn't had 1. Mississippi. Have they done more than 1 at the Dome in Louisiana?
They've done 2 in Louisiana.
Okay. I knew they'd done 1 for sure. Georgia's only had 1, right?
Yes.
2011. Virginia hasn't had 1. Pennsylvania's had more than 1. New Jersey's had 2.
New Jersey has had 4.
Well, I knew at least 2.
Yeah.
Is what I was saying. Because we were looking.
They had the 2 we talked about, and
we were looking for ones that have only had. Massachusetts has only had 1.
Yes.
98 in Boston, and then Connecticut's only had 1.
Yes.
95.
And that makes you 6.
There you go.
And then Jersey also had 2 more, and East Rutherford.
Yeah, that's the football stadium that I was talking. That's where the Giants played.
That's one of the
where the Giants and Jets both played for a while. I don't know where they play now, but yeah, this is the segment that I really wish we had the closed captioning for.
Understandable.
It's missing a lot without any sort of...
Y'all just start filling in what they're saying.
I mean, I probably could. I doubt anybody's really paying that.
Hey, you buddy, I don't like your face.
If I turn the audio up, I mean, it probably wouldn't matter, but... Oh, well, fella, I don't do a good Roddy Piper impression. I don't do a good Stone Cold either, so... Oh, yeah, you know, fella, yeah, I don't do Roddy Piper. Sorry.
I definitely don't do voices for either of them.
There's some wrestlers I feel like I can imitate well. Roddy Piper is not one of them, and nor is Stone Cold. And that's the bottom line, because Stone... Yeah, no. I just...
He just keeps pointing at him.
I just need to leave. Yeah, you see this finger here? Do you know where this finger's been? Do you want to smell this finger? You don't want to smell this finger, but do you want to? If you do you want him to smell this finger? Now, before you smell this finger, let me tell you one thing. I've got another finger here. You can smell both of them, or you can smell one of them. Now, I know you're famous for waving the finger around, but this is not one of those. That is not one of these fingers. I'm offering you this finger. This finger right here. And now I'm offering you a second finger. That is the finger you wave around. But now I'm going back to just the one finger.
He's contemplating it.
It looks like they're going for a bit of them being antagonistic, and then I think maybe Carly's going to come out, and then they're going to turn against a common enemy. Although I wouldn't be shocked if Roddy gets a stunner before this is over.
He's picking up his mic.
So you say I can smell your finger, but why can I only smell one of your fingers? What if I want to smell all of your fingers? What? What if I want to smell your pointer finger? What? What if I want to smell your middle finger? What? What if I want to smell Mr. Ring Finger? What? As much as Austin gave to the business, the what chants are probably the worst thing he ever did. Because it's killed many a promo since then, with the fans just relentlessly chanting, what? What?
What? What?
It can be very... Some people can kind of play with it and you know, work into it, but it can be a promo killer.
Yeah.
I got 5 fingers for you. Do you want to smell them? Whole hand. He's contemplating. I tell you what. I would love to smell your fingers. If, and only if, you tell me where they've been. You want to know where these fingers have been? What? The fans are standing. They're looking toward the entranceway. Somebody's coming in, and so we've spoiled it. It's Carlito.
Again, looking.
This is where those fingers have been.
Very young. You guys, I don't want to know where any of your fingers have been.
I prefer Maddie's tone of events.
But do you want to know where this finger has been? And would you like to smell this finger? It's horrible.
The joke, the one joke for this entire part. How long did this go on? We have one joke to stretch friggin' 20 minutes.
Man, Carlito does look young there.
Yes.
Now. I'm not saying he looks old now, but man.
Significantly young here.
I was never a big fan of the Carlito character and the spit in the apple of people.
Makes sense.
He's fine, I guess.
Just chuck the apple Mach 10.
Who do you think you are coming in here? I got a finger here that I'm trying to let Steve Austin smell. You want to interrupt our finger smelling time? My finger was going places before you were ever even born. Do you know how many places this finger has been? This finger may have been Madison Square Garden. I'd rather smell his finger than your finger.
How old would he have been here?
Who? Carlito?
Yeah.
I don't have a clue. I don't know how old he is now.
Me neither. I'm going back to Google.
I don't even know how far into his wrestling career he was by the time he came to the WWF.
Let's see. He is currently 46 years old.
So he would have been 26 years old then.
Nice.
apple.
Yes, he would have been.
Is that a bad apple?
That's my apple. You take my apple without even letting me smell your finger?
Demolished it, too.
Well, joke's on you. That was a poison apple.
In Jericho...
I was on my way to Snow White.
In one of Jericho's books, too, he claims that the whole apple spitting thing started with him. But I don't know he was claiming credit for having invented it, but like Vince had like suggested he do it in a promo one time.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually when Carlito came in, it became his like full-time gimmick.
Stone Cold standing there.
That's why you don't tell someone the apple's poison before they swallow it. They'll spit it back at you.
Got any interest in the new Snow White movie?
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it available to watch yet?
Not yet, as far as I'm aware. I've heard a lot of bad things about it.
Like what? Because I've heard there's issues with it, but I have not actually heard any of them.
I haven't paid too much attention to it because I'm not a big Snow White fan.
I've heard no elucidation about it whatsoever.
I've heard a lot of people just don't like it because they changed it from Disney's original story, from what I've heard.
It's not Disney's original story.
I'm comparing it.
Disney.
The way they did Snow White when they started doing the Disney princesses. They've changed it from how Disney originally did Snow White.
Did we just get through that whole thing without a stunner? Did Carly not take a stunner?
I saw him
he got stomped a little bit and tossed over the top rope, and now we're getting the beer bash with Austin.
Beer! More beer!
I can't believe Carly didn't take a stunner. I wonder if Steve just was...
More beer! How much beer is there?
Enough. As much as Steve needs.
Does he got fucking beer over there?
No, but they'd have like a cooler sitting over there with the beer in it, and timekeeper Mark Eaton would toss the beers to Steve Austin.
More beer!
And of course, famously, Austin came out on Raw one time in like '98 with the beer truck and sprayed the ring down.
Infinite beer!
Oh, wow, now my finger's gonna smell like beer. I wonder if I want to smell my finger now. Somebody say a finger smells like beer. I want to smell that finger.
A lot of beer is getting wasted here.
That's okay, because beer sucks.
A lot getting spilled or just flying all over the place.
I feel like Roddy's gonna get a stunner though before this is over.
There's so much beer.
He is soaked in beer.
Here we go.
There's more beer on him than in him.
I told you the stunner was coming. And if y'all are wondering, Roddy wears the kilt because he got announced as being from Scotland. That was his gimmick. He was Scottish.
Makes sense.
Because he legitimately played the bagpipes. I mean, maybe he didn't play them well, but he played them well enough to play them and have it be kind of a heat getter
Gimmick.
for him.
Yeah.
Scottish.
He may come from Scottish. He may have a Scottish heritage, but he's actually Canadian.
Actually Canadian.
Look, if you need...
Real name was Roderick Toombs.
Very interesting.
Oh no, Stone Cold dropped
Do you know
it.
the person that does Zelda's voice for Breath of the Wild is Canadian?
I did not.
Why does it matter, and why would I know that?
Why is
Because
it?
she sounds British, and you're like, wow, she's Canadian.
Yeah.
Is she trying to affect a British accent, or that's just the way she talks?
It's not just the way she talks, it's her putting on voice.
Wow. Cultural appropriation, am I right?
Me and my girlfriend also recently played an Assassin's Creed game recently where the main character is Irish and not voiced by an Irish person.
Is that Anthony Kiedis behind Michael Cole?
I have no idea.
Kind of looked like him.
Can we acknowledge how parts of the world are very freaking straight and others just not?
Yeah, the other's just gay as hell.
Like,
I mean, you're saying something off with that joke.
like when Texas meets Mexico, not a straight line at all. The rest of the border with
The
Mexico, very
Texas-Mexico
much.
border is defined by a river.
Yeah, and then there's just straight border after that. And like most of from Washington until Minnesota, where it's touching Canada straight. Everything else bordering Canada, no. To be fair, a fair portion of that is water, but still.
I mean, it's really hard to have, like, complete straight borders.
Oh, now it's time for one of the mini gimmick matches.
It's not like they were like, oh, I'm gonna make my border exactly this rectangle here.
Anyway, it's time for one of the mini gimmick matches.
Kinda...
Good Lord, Dylan!
How did he say his statement?
Twice now! I even allowed for you to finish and then tried to restart. Wrestling.
Yes.
Matches.
Yes.
Gimmicky matches. Big Show had many at WrestleMania, including one against boxer Floyd Mayweather. This one is a sumo match against legitimate sumo champion Akebono.
Yes.
Why is it like a box of 4 states that are very, very square? Why are they on the same, like, in the same location?
Yeah, and that's the famous 4-corner spot where you can stand in 4 states at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go there.
It's very interesting that we have, like, all the boxy ones in the same place.
Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, for anybody who doesn't realize
4 corners.
about what Gabby is speaking.
To be fair, Wyoming's very boxy too, but I love them.
Like, all the rest aren't very boxy, but those,
I'm going to assume it's a mixture of how and when they were formed.
Yeah.
Of, like, how and when those, borders were formed.
Tonight. That is maybe the largest kimono ever.
This is all,
Although,
like,
to be
the
fair,
colonies that
Lots
get
of
split
the
up.
sumo champions are very, very big men. Not
Yeah.
just large, but tall as well.
It's very interesting that those are the only ones, really.
Michigan has one of the most interesting borders.
Paul White,
Yeah.
Paul White, the Big Show, he's from South Carolina.
Nice.
Okay,
I did not know that.
Okay, obviously, since this paw is hanging off us and only attached to this, I was like, no, it's mine. You don't get that, Wisconsin. That's mine.
Are you talking about,
A little extra bit.
oh, up there? Yeah. I thought you were talking about the fact that Chicago really should belong to another state, but Illinois made a play for it because it was such a big shipping port being right there on the lake. They've taken down the ring roads.
And then Oklahoma just just sliding in
The
between
tiny,
Texas.
tiny bit.
It's like,
I've heard the
Yeah.
explanation for why the panhandle, but I'll be damned if I can remember it right now.
I'm sure I can find it out. Remember, Georgia... I'm correct. Georgia exists because South Carolina didn't want to touch Florida.
real.
That whole area used to be Carolina, like as far as Mississippi, maybe even. Carolina was a big region.
Yeah, I'll be smaller if it means I don't have to be next to Florida.
Oh, good Lord, how do we
That's so real.
like the sumo outfits?
I looked away. Why are we doing sumo now?
They, like I say, Big Show did a lot of gimmicky matches at WrestleMania like this, just because they thought it would be an attraction. The guy who's not Big Show, Akebono, is a legitimate sumo wrestler. You're just not covered by much there.
No, you're not. Covering exactly what you need to cover, and that's it.
Barely. I don't know if this was a worked match or if it was a shoot. I know it doesn't last very long. And I have no memory. I know I watched this WrestleMania. I remember having the tape of it. I remember lending the tape to our neighbor and getting it back from them. But I don't remember this particular match whatsoever. I remember the Shawn Kurt match. I remember Eddie and Ray. I remember the world title match. I remember the first Money in the Bank. I did not remember that this was on this WrestleMania or any WrestleMania that I watched. Oh, he's gonna try to throw salt in his eyes. No, just salting the ring. Okay. I mean, I think that's like a legitimate sumo thing. I just thought Big Show was gonna do like the old heel gimmick of
Big Show was gonna go wrestling with
his
it.
opponent's eyes. Man, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of this show.
Yeah.
Only 2 matches left after this.
Wow.
Only 2 matches left in 700,000 hours.
2 matches in an hour and 15 minutes.
2 matches and a third of the show.
Looks like they're gonna pull up again.
God, they're taking a while to do this.
Yeah, I don't even know when it officially starts because the official time for the match is only like a minute.
Gosh. I decided to look up the reasoning behind Oklahoma. First of all, what I've learned so far is a cat just attacked
Well,
me.
someone learns
She was trying to climb on your shoulder.
It hurt.
about being assassinated for about
The cat has to keep the secrets about Oklahoma. Anyway, is when the U.S. first...
Little known fact, that was to be the plot of the third National Treasure movie. It never got made, so...
when the U.S. first acquired Texas, Texas went all the way up to Wyoming.
Pardon?
Oh, sumo. This match is not long.
I moved out of the
Texas had a comically sized hat.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, it went all the way up to Wyoming.
Comically large Texas hat.
Oh gosh, and apparently it has something to do with something called the Missouri Compromise. Missouri's over there.
What?
I don't know, dude.
Are these facts accurate?
As far as I'm aware, I'm still reading.
Yeah, I have no idea if this match is predetermined or if it's a legitimate match.
Boy, does
he
Michigan
threatening
have
to
that
chokeslam
piece
this
of land
man?
up there.
We'll get to that later.
Oh, there
Ow.
we go. That's it.
Wow. Makes sense. Oh, wow.
Does Akebono really have his name tattooed on him? Never mind.
What?
I forgot I had my name tattooed on me. A lot of tattoos.
Yes, you do.
I have your name tattooed on me too, so
Yes, you do.
just seems less weird to have somebody else's name tattooed on you than your own name.
So far, I've figured out there's also a thing called the Kansas-Nebraska Act that created a 34-mile gap between Kansas and Texas. And that was just unclaimed territory. That's where I'm at so far. For 40 years, that land wasn't part of anything. And then in 1890, the Organic Act made it part of Oklahoma.
Two very large men with very little clothing.
Absolutely.
What the fuck is up with fucking Michigan?
What, the Upper Peninsula?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why is it like, alright, Wisconsin, Kansas?
There was a TV series on History Channel called like How the States Got Their Shapes.
I started watching that at one point. I'm
Pretty
sure.
interesting.
So weird.
Not really relevant to wrestling, but
Montana's almost really square, but then it's like
It's got the face on the side.
It takes a chomp out of Idaho.
It's got the face on the side.
what state do you think has the weirdest shape?
The weirdest shape? West
I'm-
Virginia. Chicken wing. With
more like a
whatever it
turkey.
is. Yeah.
I mean,
Go
yeah,
West
that.
Virginia.
I mean, Michigan, because of its split, is weird.
The split makes it a little bit weird, but otherwise it's neat. Wisconsin's a fatter Michigan.
Those are part of it.
I mean, of course, it's all a matter of what
Illinois
you
is
judge
kind of
to
an
be
odd shape.
strange or not. But
Yeah.
I always thought Idaho was pretty strangely shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda. I think, which one is this? Is this Maryland here? Yeah. Yeah, Maryland's a little weird.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
that's not the peninsula. There's what, Maryland, Delaware, and maybe part of Virginia too.
Yeah, something like that.
It's definitely Maryland and Delaware.
Why the fuck is Paul Virginia? The fuck?
What?
Well, it's the Del.
No, that...
I think this
I don't
hang
know.
down part here is part of Virginia because this peninsula is the Delmarva Peninsula.
Yeah.
Why?
So that's Delaware, Maryland,
Yeah,
and
that's
Virginia.
Delaware, dude.
Yeah, but why is it get a little bit
This
off?
is Virginia.
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
What's with that blue line on your? Did you draw that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I can turn that off. I was just outlining because I can.
Yeah, that bottom part is Virginia.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Virginia said they wanted it and they got it.
This little overhang, that's mine.
That cat looks ready to fight.
Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena on your TV.
Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena?
This was only about when he came in, he was a baby face, but he was just a pretty bland baby face, just standard nondescript trunks, ruthless aggression, John Cena. And then the legend is that during one of the Halloween episodes, he dressed as Vanilla Ice and did a freestyle rap, and Stephanie McMahon heard it and said, "Hey, we've got a character here," and that's how the rapper persona of John Cena was born.
Interesting.
And, carried to the point that he even made an actual album. That's the entrance music he still uses today is a song from his album.
Nice.
It's the second entrance music he would use off the album. And a little bit I heard it was a pretty good album. But I heard a very little bit of it, too, so I don't want to vouch for the whole thing. He definitely leaned more into the hip-hop aesthetic of the time.
What happened?
I don't know. She got an itch.
And then later he just started going, "You can't see me," and that was his whole gimmick.
Yeah, which I mean, he borrows from hip hop as well, but he just leaned more. It just became more of the John Cena hustle, loyalty, respect persona than the real hardcore hip hop persona that he had earlier in his run. And like I say, he started out as a babyface, then he was a heel for a couple of years, and then by like 2004, he was a babyface and never looked back until the current heel run began. Which again is still amazing to me that they would do that in the middle of his retirement tour. And it's hard for me to believe that it's actually something they just chose at the last minute. But at the same time, that's kind of the story I'm getting. It's kind of hard to believe they would begin this whole retirement tour with that in mind either. So
yeah, it was interesting.
I was talking about the last interaction we've seen between Cena and Cody, and one thing I should mention about it too. The only bit of physicality we've seen between them, aside from the initial angle at the last PLE, was it was Cody laying out John with just one single crossroads.
Yeah.
And the fact that's the only physicality we've seen and that Cody was the one that got the better of it, I'm a little worried that maybe they're going to switch the title at WrestleMania.
Oof.
And I don't think... I mean, I could see them doing it and then building up to Cody winning it back at SummerSlam because they feel like Cody needs that run, but... I don't know. This feels like the era of longer title reigns again. Like, maybe the world title changes hands a little more often, but the guy who holds the WWE title is going to hold it for a good length of time. And I mean, I don't think it's...
17 years.
I don't think him losing the title or retaining the title is going to affect business any one way. But I think creatively they'd be better off to keep it on him. But then again, I don't know what they have in mind for John Cena beyond that. Here's JBL doing sort of a Texas slam on the Mr. McMahon character almost. As the rich, pompous ass. And like I said, this title reign was 300 days or so.
Okay, I understand why.
This was very lengthy at the time.
But it looks so weird that he doesn't have pants on.
Yeah, well, he's like the athlete coming to the ring. He's got his towel and his warm-up jacket. But
yeah, like I understand why. It just looks weird. Also, I did look up the Peninsula stuff about Michigan.
Peninsula?
Yep.
Sounded like you said Peninsula.
Anyway, apparently in 1833, Michigan had lost land to Indiana and Ohio, and to make up for it, they were given that portion of Wisconsin.
So what did Wisconsin get?
Nothing.
Fucked.
Wisconsin was like, alright,
fuck Wisconsin.
Didn't need it anyway, I guess.
And you know what? After the last election, fuck Wisconsin.
Dylan's over here drawing comics on the
This match will not be particularly long or particularly good, to be honest with you. Like, the outcome was nice. We were pulling for Cena, and it was time for JBL's run to end. But not a great match. See, that belt is not the worst belt. It's not the best either, but it's so much better than what they have now. It's better even than the world title now, but it's definitely way better than Cody's title.
Yeah.
When they brought back the Winged Eagle for the special little bit with Saturday Night's Main Event and Kevin Owens stealing it and going to the ladder match and whatnot, I thought that was a huge mistake for them to bring it back because it just looks so much better than the current belt. Just reminds everybody of how bad the current belt is. The JBL bucks falling from the ceiling. The fake, I don't know if they're dollar bills or $100 bills or whatever, but with JBL's picture in the middle.
Interesting. Interesting choice.
I think they've done stuff like that for other wrestlers too. Maybe even for them. It would have made sense if they did it for the $1 Million Man, but I can't say for sure that they
Imagine
did.
the setup and everything for it.
But I feel like JBL's not the only one who's had the fake money coming down. There's a shot of it right there.
I don't remember what Sabrina Carpenter's confetti was. Obviously not wrestling related. Olivia Rodrigo did something neat, but I can't remember. Maybe.
Yeah, she's a wrestling fan, but she's like a fan of really obscure wrestlers. It's got like the California hippie Mike Boyette on it or something. Wait, though, she doesn't really seem to know that much about things that came before she was born, so we need like a current obscure wrestler.
And Taylor
John
Swift.
Cena.
It's got Crash Holly on it.
John Cena. Nothing.
I know she's done stars for others, but I think for the Aerostar she just did like rectangular confetti in different colors.
Speedball Mike Bailey.
All of her errors. And it was so funny because there was one extra color and everybody thought that the extra color was orange, like representing this theory of an unreleased album, but then she released Tortured Poets Department and it's like, oh, that was for Evermore. And the extra color was the white one for Tortured Poets Department.
Evermore.
Everybody was mad at her for forgetting Evermore. Meanwhile, they kind of did too. I mean, they didn't. They just labeled it wrong.
No, you're not.
I'm looking stuff up.
The chain that John Cena is wearing, the big medallion, is just sort of de rigueur for hip hop. But the chain, the big chunky chain, like actual chain, not necklace, but it's an actual chain. The one other person I've seen wear that was Trish from Naughty by Nature, who was famous for wearing a big chain with the padlock on it.
Yes.
And Cena, like I said, would adopt it as part of his persona. Wrestling and sneakers, like old school Reebok pumps too, man, with the big basketball on the tongue that you pumped up to get a better fit.
Interesting choice.
And Nike would do their own version of pumps as well. I think the David Robinsons were the first ones they did. I never had a set of pumps.
When did we acquire Texas and all that?
Wait, we own Texas? Why the fuck aren't we making better use of it?
You knew what I meant. Also, if this seems
no, the funny thing about this matchup is now John, with his current hairstyle, I keep thinking he looks like JBL's younger brother or older brother or what have you. He looks like another version of JBL with the current haircut.
Yeah.
So look at JBL. Tell me that John Cena doesn't look like JBL's younger brother with the current haircut.
Yeah.
According to this, at the time of the whole peninsula stuff, that entire area was Michigan. Wisconsin wasn't a thing.
I wouldn't know. Is that Nick Patrick refereeing this match?
I don't know.
Nick Patrick's probably the most famous of the WCW referees, either he or Randy Anderson. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Nick Patrick came over and worked for the WWE for a while.
Yeah.
I guess you could put Charles Robinson in there, and Mark Curtis too, of course. A.k.a. the late Brian Hildebrand.
I'm trying to type in, when did Wisconsin become a state? Google's recommended fill is, when did Wisconsin became a state?
I'm sorry.
When did it became a state?
Oh, Google was supposed to be the smart one.
Well, let's hope not.
Oh, wow, yeah. According to this, Wisconsin did not become a state until May 29th, 1848.
Still a long time ago.
Well, yes, very long time ago.
I thought you were about to whip out something like, yeah, Wisconsin didn't become a state until like 92. Which I know is not true or even close to it.
Yeah, the last states were in the 50s.
The way you were speaking, it seemed like you were going to reveal something shocking.
Alaska and Hawaii became the last states in the 50s.
And, I think we talked about this, but maybe we talked about this on one of our GeoGuessr streams at twitch.tv/Vidiocy if you want to check them out. Or, of course, VODs over at youtube.com/@VidiocyTV. But I believe one of those states, probably Alaska if I had to guess, was like it was a state, and then it wasn't, and then it was again. So like at one time, one of those was the last state, but then the other one stopped being a state and became a state again, so then it became the last state.
I think you're correct about it being Alaska. I vaguely remember this.
Something like that anyway, or close to that.
Let's see.
That bottom rope looks kind of loose. I need to tighten that up.
Maybe. Let's see.
JBL's almost got a camel clutch on Cena, but in the ropes, so of course he's going to have to break it. Because this is not a ladder match or any other sort of no DQ match.
I don't know what the art is.
Ouch. Wasn't like anything super painful. He just kind of smashed his face against the mat
more
for a bit.
Well, Matt, no, he catapulted his chest like into the...
Yeah, he did, but like he was moving or rolling or whatever, and he just kind of pressed his face up against it a little bit as he was moving.
I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure the WWF's ropes are actual ropes with just tape around them. And like WCW, I think, used like steel cable with tape around it. I could have that backwards, but I think in WWF/WWE, it's actual ropes.
Alright. Okay, I know we've researched this before, but I cannot find it right now.
The state thing?
Yeah.
That's okay. You should probably just focus on the match at hand.
Probably, but that's going to be annoying.
There's somebody in the crowd with a wrestling mask on, like a lucha-style mask.
Nice.
See the blue mask?
Yes.
Left side of the screen. He's off screen right now.
John Cena's wardrobe is very casual. Especially compared
He's also
to
wearing a
several
belt,
other people.
by the way. I complained about earlier. We should bring that back up.
Makes sense that he'd wear it with the jeans, but...
Yeah, definitely. You have to get the right fit on those jeans for them not to come down in the match or be too tight.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Very, very special tailored jeans. Tailored practically every night he wrestles.
Why would you want Taylor Swift's jeans when you're wrestling? I'm sure some people would like to get into Taylor Swift's jeans, but I'm not sure they'd want to wear them.
I don't know if John Cena could fit in Taylor Swift's jeans.
Yeah, probably not. He might get one leg in.
What if he tries hard enough?
Well, wait, what are we talking about? Are we talking about him wearing her pants or actually getting into her pants?
I meant actually wearing them.
I think he could probably take Travis Kelce.
Like to dinner or?
He's no longer trying to get with Taylor Swift. He was just trying to get to Travis Kelce through all of this.
There's your thumbnail.
Oh, gosh.
Or not.
We'll see what happens.
You said you were going to wait until we did the show to come up with the art. So.
Yep. I've got a few options.
What has John got on his shoe?
You're using my iPad, child.
Yeah, I stole it. It's mine now
No,
for
it's
the
not.
temporary moment.
You can have it for $700.
I'll do 7.
7 an hour?
7 a month. Like a paid subscription to use your iPad.
Don't give Apple any ideas.
The sleeper hold, which is a move that has sort of had a resurgence in wrestling in recent years. For a while, it was just a gimmicky spot and just almost a comedy spot, but now it's sort of been reborn, even though they never call it the sleeper hold anymore. They'll call it like the coquina clutch or the choke or something. But it's just a sleeper hold, which, to be fair, maybe a sleeper hold was something else originally, but in wrestling, it's always been a sleeper hold.
Yeah.
And it bugs me when I see people like Samoa Joe use it and they just want to give it this fancy name. And, which, I mean, don't get me wrong. Wrestlers rename moves all the time for their gimmick. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just a sleeper hold. Talk about Cena being casual. I mean, JBL's wardrobe was pretty plain.
Yeah. Definitely plain compared to some of the other guys. But I mean, it's wrestling clothes.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't have an issue with it, but there's at least some personality in Cena's.
That's true.
JBL's like almost Stone Cold, but he's got like that gold cityscape or whatever on the back.
There's a background color you can change.
Oh my gosh.
I'm stupid, okay? Shut up!
I wasn't saying anything.
You're looking at me and I didn't like it.
The one lasting memory I have of this match is after Cena wins, him going out in the crowd and like posing with the crowd with the belt.
Yeah.
Or at least he may not be in the crowd, he may actually be just at the barricade, but him being with the crowd and celebrating his win.
Sounds pretty cool.
Like I said, I remember it being a relatively short match.
Relatively.
This is probably one of the few occasions during any of the periods that they had 2 world championships that the world championship matches actually went back to back. They might have done that in 2004 also, the year before this.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of times they'd even like start the show with one of the world title matches and then do the other one at the end or have one in the middle. I say, rarely have there been a WrestleMania, or has there been a WrestleMania where one of the world championships didn't main event.
Is he like relying on his foot some to hang on?
Probably. Or his leg wrapped around the turnbuckle there.
Yeah.
Superplex. But yeah, of course, we've got the world title main eventing this show. First WrestleMania, like I said, was main evented by a tag team match with no titles on the line.
Yeah.
And then just about every other WrestleMania has been main evented by one world title or the other. 2012, Rock and John Cena, when they had their first match, there was no titles on the line in that. And
Interesting.
then, 2010, WrestleMania 26, the one we watched the matches from on the last episode, Shawn and Taker main evented that with no title on the line.
Interesting.
But those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that weren't main evented by, like the women's world title, of course, main evented WrestleMania. Was it 18 or not number 18 or 19, but 2018 or 2019?
Yeah.
They had the triple threat with Charlotte and Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey with that horrible finish, but with both women's world titles on the line. But again, still a world title, so.
Yeah. So, which WrestleMania has had the most title matches?
I don't know. I mean, one of the years where there were a bunch of titles,
Yeah.
One of the years where you had 2 world championships, and you had the Intercontinental, and the U.S. title, and a women's title, and you got to think about when the titles crossed over, too, because at times there's been the European Championship, and some years there's been a Cruiserweight Championship, some years there's been 2 tag team titles, again, some years there's been 2 world titles.
According to this, it was WrestleMania 38. They had 6 title matches total.
That was that was one of the 2-night WrestleManias. That was, not last year. Last year was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years ago.
2022.
Yeah.
Pretty recently.
Yeah. That actually doesn't even seem like that many, to be honest with you.
To be fair, how many matches are at WrestleMania typically?
Well, that was a 2-night WrestleMania as well,
True.
so. Oh, he's got JBL up for the attitude adjustment. Is that going to be enough to finish it? It was. And there you have it. John Cena's first World Championship victory.
Nice.
First of 16. Maybe 17. If you're watching this after WrestleMania 2025.
Yeah.
There's the You Can't See Me. And here he goes out into the crowd, like I said. OVW sign.
Okay.
We talked a lot about OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yeah.
Or John. He didn't get a start there. He started out wrestling California. He wasn't wrestling against the state. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's
Wrestling the
a friend of
entire
John's
state.
or a family member or just a fan that he
wrestle
gave the
entire
belt
state.
to. But he started out wrestling in Cal. Yeah, there's the scene that I remember him in the crowd with the belt.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
But his run with the WWE at least started with Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Like, 20 years later, he's gonna win and recreate that.
Well, if he wins, he ain't gonna go in the crowd.
True.
He's the heel, so
True. He wants nothing to do with the crowd now.
yeah, he's made that clear. Again, the character. We're not talking about the actual person.
The actual person would probably love it.
However he feels or doesn't feel about the crowd, I fully believe anything he's saying is just the character.
It's all the story he's being paid
He bit
to
the
sell.
belt. Look at that.
I see.
Like, is it real? Okay. Like that old stereotype of like the banker biting the coin to make sure it's a real coin. He's biting
like
the belt to make sure it's the real one.
The Olympians biting the medals.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I especially saw it
darn, I thought it was
within like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because one of them had one of the lower medals, but saw the other girls biting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people made like autograph and stuff.
Yeah. Because it's just the gold medals they bite, right?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, something. I'm pretty sure just the gold ones traditionally are big.
I don't remember.
But
We should pay some respect to the Hall of Fame retrospective here. Apparently Randy's dad went in the Hall of Fame that year.
is Randy in the Hall of Fame?
No, but he's still active, so
Sure.
it's fairly rare for a wrestler to go in when they're still wrestling.
Yeah.
Nikolai Volkov, the Khosrow Vaziri, the Iron Sheik. Lots of this is like prime 80s WWF. These guys here.
Yeah. Some pretty big stuff.
Bobby Heenan. I guess Bobby wasn't going in. Is that Paul Orndorff?
I have no idea.
The big
Again,
Yes.
one of the four men who was in the main event of the first WrestleMania. Jimmy Hart, legendary. Oh yeah, this is just this is the 80s WWF like a mother. Oh, Piper went in that year too. It looks like. So yeah, again, this is
Interesting.
every single person inducted was a major star in the WWE. Well, I mean, I guess Nikolai Volkov was maybe not a major star, but he was tag team champion. He was a big player in the company.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, it's not
Back
everybody from the 80s, but like everybody in this class was a big star in the WWF in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Usually I would think it's a little more parsed out between the generations and the decades, but this is
A little
just,
bit more.
this is just 80s as can be. It was 2005, so...
Yeah. Wasn't that the guy we just saw with Stone Cold?
And was this the year that Hogan went in too?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, so this was definitely the 80s WWF. I mean, Piper and Hogan were like the two biggest names in the WWF in the 80s. The only person they'd be missing would be Savage, who would eventually go into the Hall of Fame. I don't think he was in the Hall of Fame at this point.
Damn. When did he go in?
I don't know. 2009, maybe.
So a few years later.
It's just... It was after he had passed away. It was a posthumous induction. So... I'm not really sure. 2011, maybe. I don't even remember when Randy died off the top of my head.
According to this, 2015.
Okay, so yeah. But yeah, there was a very contentious relationship with Randy Savage and Vince McMahon.
And
There's been a lot of rumors about why that is, but I don't know if, any of them confirmed.
he passed away in 2011.
Okay, so I had that date in my head for some reason. Me and Gene Oakland, one of the famous talking heads from the 80s. Gonna introduce the Hall of Fame class here, I would assume.
Probably.
What do we think about the Hall of Fame this year? Triple H, Dylan,
That's not surprising, honestly.
is the headliner for the Hall of Fame this year is your man Triple H.
Nice.
Is Batista in it?
Batista's in the Hall of Fame, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think. Don't hold me to that.
Damn it!
Look it up to be sure. But
I am looking it up.
I think he went in. Triple H is technically already in the Hall of Fame as a member of DX, but he's going in as a singles wrestler this year. Lex Luger's going in, which I think is really cool. Lex Luger is one of my favorite wrestlers for a long time. The natural disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon. Earthquake's definitely deceased. I don't know if Fred Ottman is or not. Undertaker's wife, Michelle McCool, it's whatever. And I think that's everybody that I know of. This year, for the first time, they're actually going to induct a match in the Hall of Fame this year. the Stone Cold Steve Austin Bret Hart match at WrestleMania 97, the match that I've always thought was overrated, but we watched it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically they're inducting Steve and Bret again as the ones who participated in the match, the ones who created the match, but call it what you want. The match is being honored as part of the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Okay, according to this, Batista is not in it. He was supposed to go in it in 2023.
In the pandemic.
No, in 2023, but filming prevented him from being able to attend, so they didn't go ahead with it, and haven't put him in it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me feels like there was nothing in 2020, because they canceled the Hall of Fame in 2020. Maybe they picked it up at SummerSlam or something, but they didn't do it at WrestleMania because of the pandemic.
But supposedly he has expressed that he would like to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be. I don't think there's any, any heat between him and the WWE.
Yeah.
It's just, one of those things. He'll get there eventually. They're only going to have, one big headliner every year, and then... Although this is a pretty good class this year. I mean, Lex Luger was a main eventer.
God damn it, Batista. He was supposed to go in 2020, but it got canceled, and he wasn't able to attend 2021/2022, so they said, okay, 2023, and he's like, nope, can't attend it.
Yeah, I told you, I thought it was 2020 originally when he was supposed to go, and I think they even got so far as announcing that it wasn't even just supposed to be it had been planned, but then...
Multiple years now, Batista was supposed to go in, but for whatever reason, either it was canceled or he couldn't attend the ceremony, so he's not in it yet.
With Bret getting at least some sort of induction because of the match with Stone Cold, he's going to be, I think, the first 3-time inductee into the Hall of Fame, because he went in as a singles wrestler, he went in as one half of the Hart Foundation tag team, and now he's going in as one half of this match with Stone Cold.
The gold dress reminded me of one that Taylor Swift wore.
That was Tori Wilson. She's a former wrestler in Wrestling Ballet.
Nice. So, a fair bit of years ago, Taylor Swift wore a dress. It was an orange top and a big pink skirt.
I think it was Tori Wilson anyway. When I looked at it, I said, oh, that's Tori, but...
Chris did the redo put on.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Yeah,
she looks excited.
That's Stacy Keibler. She's in the Hall of Fame. She went in the year...
Don't actually hold down on
2023.
She went in before Batista.
Yeah. But again, I mean, Batista was it's a scheduling thing. It's not that he wasn't welcome or that he turned it down.
Yeah.
Let's see, Stone Cold will be a 2-time inductee with this Hall of Fame thing. Triple H will be with this Hall of Fame thing, with this match thing. Triple H is going to be a 2-time inductee. Ric Flair's a 2-time inductee, going in as a single and as part of the Four Horsemen.
I was going to say, I assume every time they've done the Hall of Fame stuff, there's always been somebody new. At least one person, right? It's never been like, oh, all these people have been in here before.
I'm sure.
I would hope so.
Because the multi-time inductees are not that common. Booker T's in twice as a single and is one half of Harlem Heat, the tag team he had with his brother. I imagine Shawn Waltman might be in twice, because DX was inducted, which means Shawn Michaels is in twice as well.
Yeah.
I don't think I think the NWO was inducted. Shawn Waltman might even be in there 3 times. He might be a 3-time inductee.
Damn.
But I thought I heard that Bret was the first 3-time inductee with this match. So maybe Shawn's never gone maybe Shawn Waltman has not gone in as a single, or maybe he wasn't included in the NWO. Maybe they just counted that as like Hogan, Nash, and Hall, the original 3.
Yeah.
So maybe Shawn Waltman, a.k.a. X-Pac, a.k.a. 123 Kid, is only in there as part of DX and by himself. Beyond that, I don't think there's...
Batista.
There's some others who could be, or potentially will be, of course. But there's not a ton of wrestlers who are in it twice yet.
Yeah.
Because I think Batista would be on the list, but I think the one big, not omission, obviously, but the one big name, who was like, would be The Rock, of course. I mean, Triple H is one who obviously should have been in as a single, but of course being, a corporate officer in the company, kind of understood why he hadn't gone in yet.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he already is in as part of DX.
Package.
But, they're recapping when they kicked Randy Orton out of Evolution after he won the championship. And I don't remember what the catalyst for Batista breaking with Triple H was.
Because he could.
The first wrestling show you ever went to was a house show in the run-up to WrestleMania, and it had a non-title match between Batista and Triple H, where Batista won.
Perfect.
At the Township Auditorium in Columbia, South Carolina.
Batista's best. Mainly because he has a teddy bear, but still.
So I guess Batista had won the Royal Rumble, and then he overheard Flair and Triple H talking or something and decided he wanted to move on from them.
That would possibly make sense. Somebody went through a table. They failed at going through a table earlier on the show. I mean, that didn't happen on this show, but it's happening in the package on the show. Damn. Chair. Dude, are you watching this?
Fairly.
It's
Are you doing the podcast art?
No.
He's doing art over there, but it's not the podcast art.
I could be doing the podcast art.
You should be doing the
couple
podcast
years.
art. Nope, right now.
Hey, this is the match you need to pay the most attention to, though. This is your
It's
guy
our favorite.
This is your guy against Alex's guy.
Alright.
But Batista had his retirement match against Triple H
Really?
at WrestleMania in like 2018.
Interesting.
I'm not positive about which year it was, but it was somewhere in the late 2010s.
Yeah, I don't know either. Let's see.
I think Batista was still world champion, or was world champion again, in December of 2005 when we went to see SmackDown and got to see Batista.
He retired in 2019. In April of 2019.
Okay, so it was WrestleMania 35 then, the aforementioned longest WrestleMania ever.
Yes.
It is Motorhead. It is Motorhead. Triple H is getting the live music. I will admit, Motorhead's entrance theme for Triple H is probably my all-time favorite wrestling entrance music.
Makes sense. I don't even know what Batista's music is.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's generic, because that's not fair, but it's just relatively generic as far as wrestling themes go. It's not one that stands out, really.
Yeah.
I would say Time to Play the Game for Triple H. And Triple H, the music he used before this, it was really good, too. I liked it a lot, too. But this is even better. This is probably my all-time favorite. John Cena's entrance music, the one he still uses now, with that dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
That's on the list. I like I say, for all its faults, Real American has got to be on the list. Those might be my top 3. Not 100% sure what would come next. There's been a lot of great themes. And there's some low-key ones that I like a lot, too. They're a little more subtle, like the Swamp Dog, the music the Steiner Brothers used in, 1990 and 91 in WCW. I like that a lot. And it's just an instrumental.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to the entrance music that Doom and then Ron Simmons by himself used in the same era, which I liked a lot, too.
What made Triple H your favorite, dude?
He goes to play the game.
Also, Batista is over 10 years older than you.
Yeah, well, we talked about that last time on the show, too. He got into wrestling late. I don't know why you're surprised by his age. We literally talked about it on the last show.
It would...
We went over that.
Triple H is almost exactly 10 years older than you. Literally 10 years and a day.
Oh, speaking of the last episode too, we watched 3 matches from WrestleMania 26, and I was giving star ratings for them, and I forgot to give the star rating for the John Cena Batista match. But just for my own edification, for the record, I did want to give that star rating, even though, as I said, I don't have it pulled up here like I meant to. So give me just 1 second with that. Triple H is going to spit some water. There we go. The classic Triple H entrance. I think Dylan really started getting a Triple H around WrestleMania 2012 when he and Undertaker had that classic Hell in a Cell match with Shawn as the referee. Great, great match. And that's when I really remember Dylan starting to get into Triple H. Also, he had like a little plush Triple H wrestling buddy that came from like...
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Time to play the game.
I think that played into his fandom of...
We've established that plush
Triple H
toys
as
can
well.
heavily influence.
Yes, but
fandoms.
Time to play the game.
Did the plushie say that?
Something like that.
I knew it was a
yeah.
talking plushie. I don't know all the things it said. If
So,
it said multiple things.
Anyway, talking about star ratings, and I've been missing star ratings for this match as well, or this show as well. And again, like I say, I'm not suggesting these ratings are the end all be all, or this is the only opinion that matters on them. But I just wanted to kind of give a taste of what at least one section of the wrestling fandom thought of the matches. Just to catch up on this show before I go back to WrestleMania 26. If I didn't say it, Shawn and Kurt got 4 3/4 stars, so almost a 5-star match.
Nice.
The sumo match got a dud.
Okay.
John Cena's championship win got a measly 1 1/4 stars.
Wow.
And this match is going to get 2 3/4 stars. So
Wow.
Meltzer was not particularly high on these matches. I'll agree that the John Cena JBL match wasn't much. I think it was more than 1 1/4. I remember this being a pretty solid match, though. Wouldn't say it was anything great by any means, but...
Is he wearing red trunks? He doesn't know.
Did you ask if he was drunk?
No!
Yeah, Batista always wore trunks. I don't think...
Yeah, no, I was questioning the color of them.
I don't think he always wore the same color, but he always wore trunks.
I can't remember what color the plushie were. I want to say they were.
I think they were gold.
Yeah, gold with like some red details.
Red and black trim, but they were mainly gold.
For some reason, those trunks regularly go missing.
I think I got that Batista stuffed bear for you at the Thanksgiving episode of SmackDown.
Nice.
But it wasn't live on Thanksgiving. So we talked about wrestling shows being on Thanksgiving, and that one was actually taped. That was back when they taped SmackDown. It wasn't a live show.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just not taped because it was Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't think it was just not live because it was Thanksgiving. I think they always taped it back then.
Yeah.
But it was the thing. It would air on Thanksgiving.
It's possible to go back and watch that anyway.
Yeah.
Nice.
Unless something's changed, because I've actually gone back and found myself and my dad in the crowd.
Nice.
We were on the front row, but we were at the front row where it curved, so we were, because one row kind of went in front of us. We weren't like at the barricade, but we were still in the front row. It's just the way it was set up. We were technically a little bit back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could actually find us in the crowd.
Nice.
That was funny because at one point I had paused it, and it was when Stephanie was coming out, and it just happened to be one of the angles where I could see us the best. And Johnny was like, "Is that Mommy?"
Nice.
So, that was funny. Anyway, I'm still trying to get the star ratings for WrestleMania 26. If you two would like to comment on the match or anything going on, that'd be just peachy.
Okay. I was gonna say we should watch that SmackDown. And
No
whatnot.
peaches, please.
To find the plushie, make it watch too. Have you ever tried a peach?
Probably.
That would
I think
not.
that's
I
actually
mean,
fine.
we generally try to watch things on some sort of significant anniversary, and that would have been 2003. So we kind of missed it.
Yeah.
I think it was 2000. It was either 2002 or 2003. Maybe it was 2002.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure now that I say that.
I was gonna watch it for the fuck of it though.
I mean, we could just watch it to watch it too, or we could do it as a bonus episode on Patreon.
Yeah.
I do plan to watch the SmackDown from December 2005 that we all attended. Well, by we all, I mean me and you. Dylan was not there. Dylan was baby.
Oh, it's Pepe.
Too baby. Can't go wrestling.
Bullshit.
We all went to see wrestling
in 2018.
Yeah, and Tiny Dude couldn't come with, correct? He was still tiny.
I mean, I guess technically he could have, but we didn't see any reason to take an influence to wrestling. What was I even looking up?
Star
WrestleMania
ratings?
11. Not 11, WrestleMania from 2011. WrestleMania 26. And it was from 2010 anyway. I don't know why I said 2011. That's completely wrong. See, I'm almost there. WrestleMania 26. Star rating for the John Cena Dave Batista World Championship match was 3.5 stars.
Okay.
So, 3/4 of a star higher than this match.
What was the rating for his retirement match in 2019?
I don't know off the top of my head. Look, I'll search for it, but you gotta talk.
Somebody just pulled up a sign and put it right back down.
I don't think it was actually very well. It was very long. I know that. Probably a little too long.
I don't remember it that well. Obviously, I don't remember a lot of things too well.
I don't recall it being... It wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't necessarily a particularly good match either. Batista definitely had better matches than that. Let's see.
So it's probably going to be lower than a 3.
No, not necessarily. It may be. It could be in the range of this, or it could be like 3, 3.25, something like that. But
More flashy.
Batista's had, 4+ star matches. Batista could work, and with the right opponent, on the right day, he could have a very good match. He's not somebody who's going to carry a match by himself, or who's always going to have a great match. But his match with Undertaker at WrestleMania in 2009, I want to say. 2008, somewhere around there.
Apparently Mikey knows, even though she wasn't alive yet.
That was a very well-regarded match. Just off, as far as Batista matches off the top of my head. I'm sure he had others that were very good as well. Dave Batista's retirement match against Triple H, WrestleMania 35 in 2019. From Dave Meltzer. Oh yeah, I got 2 stars.
Damn.
Which was the same as Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre got on the same show. Just for whatever record, the highest rated match on that show was Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston when Kofi Kingston won the World Championship in a 4.5 star match.
Not bad.
Main event, women's 3-way got 3 stars. Making it, I was going to say it was the second highest rated match, but that's not true. Seth Rollins' 2-minute and 29-second match with Brock Lesnar got 3.5 stars.
Interesting.
AJ Styles and Randy Orton got 3.25. The Usos winning a fatal 4-way tag team match got 3.75, and then the aforementioned Kofi and Daniel Bryan.
Nice.
With 4.5 stars was the show stealer that year.
Another cat has entered the podcast for like the 3rd time today.
So wait, what was... Oh, apparently there was also a... Oh, no, never mind. What was the other world champion? Did they only have one world championship at that point?
I don't know.
No, there's no way they only had one world championship, and it was Seth Rollins beating Brock in 2 minutes 29 seconds.
That does sound like it would be mildly...
Oh, it was Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. I just said that.
I was too busy scratching the cat.
I said that, and I was trying to remember what the other one was, and then when I looked back, I remembered what the other one was and forgot that one.
Memory serves us well today.
Okay. Well, that was main event by the Women's World Championship, so yeah, that's not an example of... Actually, the year that Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker, which was a couple years after the streak ended, that might have main evented the show, so there may have been 3 WrestleManias that I can remember.
Alright.
That didn't have a World Championship match as their main event. And when I say main event, I mean the last match on the show. I know sometimes you can argue that
the first one.
Another match is being
the first match should not be the main event. That doesn't sound like it would be appropriately planned. Could you imagine starting with the main event? It's like, here's the big thing. All right, now just hang out with us for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, that wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a reason or a way that would make sense, but nothing really comes to mind.
Yeah. That would not be a particularly smart move. At least I don't think it would be. There's like stars up there.
God, I'm so
With
good
the
at
lights or
drawing
something.
sketches.
He just like he was on the outside for a while. He should have been counted out. I mean, obviously that wasn't the plan, but
No, they're not gonna count him out like that.
it just feels like if it's not supposed to be a count out, don't be on the outside that long.
Yeah.
It just starts to look silly when you're out there for an extended period of time without being counted out.
Yeah, I understand. The sign is back, the sign is gone.
It said World Champ Batista.
Yeah. I mean, I understand not wanting to hold it up for too long.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're just popping up and down, though.
Yeah. It's very interesting. He's attacking
Dirtiest
Batista.
player in the game, Ric Flair, choking Batista.
I was going to say, what did Batista do to him? But then I remembered the package.
Yeah. Also, man, that's why Batista attacked Ric Flair leading up to his retirement match. He remembered that match way back then. How Rick choked him. Yeah, that was a weird night. They advertised this big celebration for Ric Flair and brought out all these wrestlers who were associated with him, like Ricky Steamboat and whatnot, and then they just cut to the back where Batista had beaten up Ric Flair in the dressing room. And it's like, at least let Rick come out and do the celebration with the guys and then maybe have Batista attack him,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else could have gone into it or the reason they might have done it, but it was kind of weird to bring so many guys out and then just not have Flair out there. Like I say, unless maybe something happened to Rick and he couldn't be there or he couldn't. I guess he was there. I'm pretty sure we saw him.
I think
laying
so.
on the floor, writhing in agony.
Look, some of their decisions can be questionable, at least.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the modern era is I don't think the creative really matters that much at this point, just because the business.
It should, though.
Because the business model is just not what it used to be, so I think they can get away with... They could probably get away with far less than they even deliver, so I'm thankful for what they do deliver. But I do think they've been coasting to a large degree. Like I said, I think they built up a lot into WrestleMania 39 and through the majority of that show, but then once Cody didn't win the title, I felt like they've made a lot of questionable creative decisions. And you can say, hey, Cody's super over and it all turned out okay, but I think that whole year between WrestleManias was just a lot of real, just mid-creative. And just like, it's fine, it's nothing great, it's nothing bad.
Yeah.
And it was coming off a run where they had done some really good stuff, with the Bloodline into War Games that year, and then the stuff with Sammy, and then leading into the match with Cody at WrestleMania. And of course, like the stuff with Dominic and Ray when he first, joined the Judgment Day, and he and Rio were first together. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and I just feel like, I don't want to say they've dropped the ball, but they've kind of let their foot off the gas pedal a bit.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, there's still really good stuff. I mean, the stuff building up the three-way with Rollins and Reigns and Punk has been good. I love the stuff with Dominic and Rhea and Liv. Not as crazy about the stuff with Rhea and Io and Bianca, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, the stuff with Cody and John, I don't necessarily think they're taking the right tack. I'm not sure this is the direction they should have gone in to begin with, either with the match itself or the heel turn, but it's not bad for what it is.
Yeah, as of the day we're recording this, it has been 6 years and 1 day since Batista retired.
Alright.
Apparently yesterday would have been exactly 6 years.
Speaking of the Rollins Reigns Punk match at WrestleMania, and speaking of main events, of course now we have 2 nights. So people say whatever finishes the first night is one main event, and whatever finishes the second night is the second main event. Which I'm kind of on the fence about that. I'm like, it should just be the one match that closes out the whole event. But okay, I guess whatever is the main match, is the final match the first night is still a WrestleMania main event. Apparently, Rollins and Reigns and Punk are going to main event night 1 of WrestleMania. They're going to main event a night. That was explicitly stated in the contract sign, like that was one of the selling points of it. So that's going to be one of the main events.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that Cena and Cody are going to end night one, even if Cena's going to win.
That does
and
make
be
sense.
kind of a bummer for the crowd. I still think that's the biggest match on the show. So it's, although I guess with the second night being on Easter, maybe they're like, maybe we're not going to have quite as big an audience. So there could be something to that. But I would assume that the triple threat is going to main event night one, and Cody and Cena will main event night two. But regardless of which order it goes in, what do you think about just a random triple threat match being one of the main events? Like, I mean, it's not just a random match. Obviously, these are three of the biggest stars in wrestling. But there's another men's world title with the winner of the Royal Rumble, Jey Uso, one of the most popular wrestlers in the company, against Gunther. There's two different women's world title matches.
Yeah, I don't know that it would have been what I expected
So
or my first
So the fact
pick.
that a triple threat match with no particular stipulation on it, no championships on the line, is going to be one of the two main events, and there's going to be 3 world championships just left off of the main event slot.
So I'm not mad at it, but it definitely wouldn't have been my first.
Like I said, I'm
pick.
happy to see CM Punk get a WrestleMania main event, but I thought it should have been against Cody, honestly. I thought we should have had the biggest match in AEW history at WrestleMania 41. But 'twas not to be. I actually thought, and I don't know how much of, Rock coming in and wanting to do something, them having to make last-minute changes played into it. But I thought, John Cena should have lost at Elimination Chamber, and he should have been in a state where I'm trying for that last title, but maybe I just don't have it in me. And then maybe he'd get his first win during the retirement tour at WrestleMania and build up and maybe challenge Cody come SummerSlam. That felt more like especially if it was going to be babyface versus babyface, it felt more like a SummerSlam match to me. And like I said, I was hoping Punk was going to win. I was hoping Punk was going to win the Rumble. And then, Jay won it. And then I was hoping Punk was going to win Elimination Chamber. Because I thought Punk and Cody... And I didn't think either one of them needed to turn heel. But I thought they could both sort of walk the line. Sort of be a tweener and have some heel tendencies. But also be the face, building up to WrestleMania. I thought that would have been a cooler way to go. But, it wasn't what we got. So
Yeah.
And like I say, what we got is not necessarily bad, and I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on what happens on the show, because the build-up for Cody and Roman was fantastic, and then had that horrible... and the match was great, too. It was a 5-star match until the finish, but then the finish just killed it, which was a shame, because up until that match, that was easily one of the 5 best WrestleManias I've seen, if not maybe the best WrestleMania I had seen, just match for match, up until that point. So I'm hoping we get a really good undercard this year like we got that year, but I hope we get, satisfying finishes in the main events.
Oof.
I mean, I'm not really sure what obviously I'd want Punk to win the triple threat just because he's probably my favorite current wrestler.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'd probably like to see Cody win because he's probably my other favorite current wrestler. I would rather see, between the two, it's more important to me, I think, for Cody to win because I don't think they need to end the title run. I don't think John really needs that 17th world title.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, technically he's not even going to break the record because really Flair had it more like 20 times if you give it a really fair count.
Yeah.
But I would still like to see Punk win the match. But I'm curious where they're going to go from there, too. And I don't know if you've heard, but Punk cashed in the favor that Heyman owed him for Punk joining the team at War Games, and Heyman's going to be in his corner for the 3-way match instead of Roman's.
Interesting. I had seen a little bit of something with them.
I had a feeling,
but not with much.
I had a feeling for a long time that's what the favor was going to be, that he was going to manage Punk against Roman at some point.
It does make sense.
But I wonder what it's going to mean going forward. I have a feeling that maybe Roman's going to take some time off again after this WrestleMania because he's working a much lighter schedule now, and so either Heyman can just be off TV for a while, or he can continue to manage Punk while Roman's gone for a while, because I'm pretty sure I've heard Roman say that, that he planned to be with Paul for the rest of his career, that he, when Paul was done, he was done. Unless it was the other way around. I heard Paul say when Roman was done, he was done. But I thought the idea was those two were going to be associated for, the rest of Roman's run.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in 2005, Triple H is trying to set up a pedigree on Batista on the steps, but Batista has other plans. You can take him down and catapult him from the steps to the ring post. I do believe, unless he's going to put on a Boston Crab for some strange reason. But you can't get the submission outside unless it's a false count anywhere. So there we go, catapult into the ring post.
stumbling towards the cameras and everything. Blood.
Triple H just busted open. I didn't see him blade, but he probably did.
Yeah, I didn't specifically see it, but I was about to say, how much of that do you think actually happened from the thing?
It didn't seem like it was a hard way. Because I'm sure he protected himself well enough going into the post. But I wasn't really watching for the job. And that just looks kind of like the cut you get when you use some sort of a blade as opposed to when you just get busted open hard way.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times in matches where I could easily see somebody doing it.
Yeah.
And some that I didn't necessarily see the first time, but going back and rewatch them, I would see it. And there's been plenty of times when I, never even really noticed.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a replay here, but I doubt we're going to get a replay that's going to reveal that.
I don't know enough to know.
It didn't go long enough for us to see if it even happened there.
Yeah.
I say, for all we know, he was doing it while Batista was setting up the move.
Yeah.
Because the camera, people in the first few rows of the crowd would have seen it, but the camera wasn't on him, so.
That's fair. Not a whole lot of tattoos.
That's a random comment.
I'm sorry, the shot, I could very much see Batista's arms, and he was just getting ready to attack.
Even the difference between this and the 5 years later match that we watched on the last episode, you can see a noticeable difference.
Yeah. I mean, he's not entirely covered in tattoos like some guys, but there's a difference.
He's reaching.
There's almost a heart of blood in the ring.
Oh, wow.
Oh, heart of blood.
I mean, they've probably submitted it by now, but yeah.
For a heart of blood.
New Valentine's Day gift idea, heart of blood.
I've seen people actually make necklaces and whatnot using blood.
Badass.
It's like blood and resin and whatnot.
I was going to say, is it like a vial of blood?
There's that option.
Used to wear, or is it, when you said make?
But then, yeah, there's also the option of blood and resin and stuff like that, which is interesting.
Blood and
but
rust.
interesting, she means badass.
I'm trying to remember. There is actually one brand, business, creator, whatever, that did it. And they'd actually, it's not here locally, not something I've seen in person, but they'd set up at events to do it.
Didn't Kiss or some other band do that with some pressings of one of their albums where they put blood into the mix for the vinyl? I think I remember hearing something like that. I may be just making that up, or maybe it was just...
I wouldn't be surprised, and I feel like it's something I've heard in recent years of others doing as well.
I mean, unless I want to clone somebody, it just feels like a step too far. I don't really need it in your DNA.
I feel like there was some celebrity that collaborated with a brand, known for doing weird kind of merchandise, and they did something involving blood together.
Mm.
It's something. I bet pieces of the ring is pretty valuable, and they have blood, and you can identify exactly whose and everything.
Maybe.
When you can clone the person.
Blood notwithstanding, as Flair takes a shot from Batista. My favorite WrestleMania 12, which had my favorite match ever, the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Iron Man match between what was my two favorite wrestlers at the time, and still two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. They did a deal at that WrestleMania where you could get a souvenir where it was a plaque that had a piece of the ring canvas cut out, and then a picture of the winner and autographed by them. Man, I regret not getting that.
I bet it costs quite a bit now.
It does. It's like $500 on eBay now.
That's not as crazy as I would have expected, honestly.
I would love to get my hands on one of those, though. That would be I'm not big on a lot of souvenirs and a lot of collectibles, but that's one I would really love to have. And like I say, even though, Bret over time has probably emerged as my favorite of all time over Shawn. At the time, Shawn was probably my favorite between the two, even though they were my top two.
Yeah.
And Shawn won the match. Just to have a piece of the mat from my favorite match, that would be really, really cool. That's like the one big expensive collectible that I would really like to get my hands on one day. My
one big expensive collectible costs about the same. It's a doll.
I bet it doesn't have the same sentimental value.
No, not really. It's just, as a doll collector, that's I need one of those in my collection. It's the smart doll, specifically the one named Marvel. She's my favorite currently.
What, like a Japanese sex doll?
No.
When I hear smart doll, that's what I'm thinking of.
We have been over this so many times. It's a type
Spine
of
buster by
fashion doll,
Batista.
essentially.
The belt shot from Triple H did not take him down. Looks like he's getting ready to win the crown.
Triple H is
Setting up the
blood.
Batista bomb. Nope, low blow.
Damn.
We're not quite there yet.
Face.
Those vaunted acting skills. Unless Triple H just missed his shot and that he wasn't acting.
Dear gosh. Even his hair is now like at least a strawberry blonde.
Yeah, well, that's, his mentor and buddy Ric Flair with that platinum blonde hair when he used to bleed.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a sight.
Yeah.
So I don't know if y'all can hear that. It was like a motorcycle or a car with a very loud engine going by right now.
Motorcycle. Boom, boom goes the motorcycle.
He's trying to fly or something. He plays out of pedigree.
Fly. I'm gonna fly away from you.
Version of the, almost like a Samoan drop, but a vertical Samoan drop.
There are some similarities between Rock and younger Batista. Appearance-wise.
Okay. Now, Batista bomb. The sit-up power
Did
bomb.
you see the splatter of blood?
No, I missed that. I'm sorry.
He dropped him and when he hit the ring, there was a splatter of blood.
You mean you actually saw it splash
Yeah.
off? Yeah. I wonder how much of it was blood and how much of it was like a mix of blood and sweat.
It was probably a mix, but I could see the color, especially once it hit the ring.
Big impact on that power
Batista.
bomb. There it is. We saw the first World Championship win of Cena's. Now we see the first of Batista's.
Amazing.
Nice,
I don't know how many
nice.
runs Batista had in his career. Not as many as Cena, obviously. I know Orton's up to like 14. I don't think Batista's even in double digits, but he'd have a couple runs at least. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he was either still champion or had won the championship again by December when we went to see them live. And here
Big
we are
belt.
again with the, I thought you said big belly at first.
Big belly.
Like I
He
said,
doesn't have much of a belly, though.
a year before, we had seen them trying Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit as the world champions, and then in August they made the switch from Benoit to Orton, and earlier in the summer or late spring they made the switch from Eddie Guerrero to JBL, and now here at WrestleMania 21, we're trying the new thing again with Batista and Cena. I'd say those two actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
As for changing the guard, I mean, Cena certainly had more longevity than Batista, but Batista had a good run too, so these weren't really flashes in the pan. Now, to be fair, Orton would eventually work out as well too. He, his first world title run. Oh yeah, I saw those around the building. I didn't know what you were referring to when you were talking about the stars, but anyway, like I say, to be fair, even though Randy Orton's first world title run did not work out all that well, he's had 13 more since then, so obviously he did something right as well. But
Yeah.
I'd say this is one of those shows where, like, even though Batista was the final one, he was in the final match, and obviously Cena would end up surpassing him. But Batista, held his own, so.
Yeah.
And now, I don't think they're going to just show the Hollywood parodies here. I think they're just going to use that to kick off. Yeah, this is the traditional package that the WWF team always did a good job putting together the package at the end of the pay-per-view showing highlights from what we saw.
So just like
Very
live
quick
editing
turnaround.
that?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no, this was all taped ahead of time.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just sitting here like, damn, multiple people are having to sit there and just live edit this as it's coming through.
Yep.
That's one way to do it. I remember one time I filmed a YouTube video and I had no the shit out of Dylan because he was helping me do some voices, and we would literally, like, we code a scene, and then I'd load it into the editor to put it together, and then we'd do the next one.
I just realized somebody had a big sign that was made in the shape of a belt for John Cena, and it spun.
That's cool.
Like, the medallion Cena wore might have spun, and obviously it's a tribute to, like, the spinning rims that were very popular on cars at one time, and may still be.
Yeah.
But, I wonder if that's where he got the idea for the spinner belt. He would make iconic.
Maybe.
Yeah, WrestleMania 21, not the best WrestleMania, certainly not the worst, but an interesting little...
What is the worst, in your opinion?
I haven't seen every one.
Okay, of what you've seen.
I don't think WrestleMania 2 has a great reputation, and I don't necessarily think the original WrestleMania was that great either, as far as just...
That's probably fair. They were some of the first.
WrestleMania 9 was not particularly good, but neither was WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 8 had one of my favorite matches on it, so I'd probably take it over 9. Like most of the 80s ones, I've gone back and watched, but I didn't see them live, and that you know, that matters. Seeing it in context matters. I mean, 7 wasn't anything special. 4 is considered, you know, maybe the nadir of WrestleManias with the tournament format and the non-wrestling crowd at Trump Plaza. I don't think 4 is very well received. But
Interesting.
Again, that's one I've watched, but only historically. I didn't watch it at the time, but I don't remember it being anything particularly special. Like I said, other WrestleManias that I watched live and actually, you know, remember well. Maybe 97, honestly, WrestleMania 13.
Yeah.
And that was a show that was just hampered by injuries and creative disagreements. And I know everybody loves the Bret Hart-Steve Austin match on the show, but I always have found it to be overrated. And I think, again, we've talked about it before, it was more of a product of my expectations versus what I got.
Yeah.
More so than the match
The failure to go through the table.
More so than the match actually being bad, even in my opinion. But that was not a particularly good show. So, yeah, off the top of my head, that would probably be my answer.
Alright.
As far as the ones that I got to see live,
yeah.
I'm not saying it was worse than WrestleMania 4. And like I say, a lot of the more modern ones I've seen, but maybe not seen all of. I mean, you could make a case for the 2021 because it was the one done with no crowd whatsoever, and they had to, you know, scramble and change things around because of the pandemic and whatnot. But there was some good stuff on that show too. If you can get past the no crowd,
yeah,
like the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match was really good. Seth and I think it was Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, they were really good. And like I say, that was in no way any fault of the performers of the company. In that case, that was obviously very special circumstances. And like I said, I think it was still way better than some of these other shows. So, yeah, I'd go with 13 off the top of my head.
I have no idea what I'd go with. I just don't retain wrestling shows enough to judge like that.
Yeah. And there we go, Batista with the championship. The reason we chose to watch the show along with the anniversary.
Yeah.
And the first of at least several successful ones. Like I said, as it turns out, the man who won the championship in the semi-main event would be the one to really make his mark on the company.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what kind of mark he makes next week as the show goes up.
I agree.
At WrestleMania 41, the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania, which is, again, why we're watching WrestleMania on this show. Because it's WrestleMania season and we are wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
So, anything else y'all want to add before we get out of here? We've been here for a while.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
All right, then. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. If you made it all the way through, consider yourself, I don't know what you consider yourself, a survivor.
At this point.
4 hours for hanging out with us, though. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/LexiConvo. Of course, you can catch us on YouTube. Clips are up on the LexiCon YouTube page, and of course, the full episodes are on youtube.com/@VidiocyTV. And make sure you come back next time when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon Concluded.
Bye.